ladies and gentlemen, introducing Mark Pyre's Renaissance Man.
Okay, people, gather round. The Mark Pyre's Renaissance Man show. Is he still alive? Wait, hold on, I'm not done. Trying to get to the bottom of this. Number 2. Is he still alive?
He is Dr. Evil.
Why is he still alive, and why did you answer when I was asking number 2? I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. Number 2!
A plan is in the works, Dr. Evil.
This is wonderful news, number 2. Over 1,000 days in a row, we've managed to keep the world from knowing he exists.
Dr. Evil, he's still going and doesn't care.
Well, we need to find another way to stop the show. He's making me look bad, you know? Yeah, no. Perhaps we can make him look like racist or something?
That may work, Dr. Evil.
Perhaps we can get the media to cancel him?
This is your best idea yet, Dr. Evil.
Okay, number 2. Get me Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Evil. Dr. Fauci is on the evil monitor.
Thank you, number 2. Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Evil. It's Dr. Fauci.
Well, Dr. Fauci. It looks like the gig is up. The Renaissance Man show knows all about you.
Yeah, look, they created a character after me. We gotta squash him like the friggin' mouse that he is. He calls me a weasel, Fauci. I'm not a weasel, okay? I'm not a doctor. I'm Dr. Fauci, okay? Don't call me Dr. Weasel Fauci, okay? Because that's anecdotal.
Anecdotal Fauci. That's what they're always making fun of you about. That you're always anecdotal.
No, I know. Like I said, that everything's anecdotal.
Excellent. Dr. Fauci, initiate the final plan.
They never even asked you. Welcome, family and friends, to the Mark Pyre's Renaissance Man show. We are live every single day of the year for unscripted live comedy, songwriting in the moment, and total inspiration. So join us on a tour of some of the accomplishments and content created in the first 1,000 days and counting of Renaissance Man. So far in 2021, 12 albums and 156 songs have been released into the world. But we're not even close to done yet, fam. My plan is to put an album out every month for the rest of my days, as well as show up for you every single night. I've created 3 feature films this year: Batmark vs. Supermark, Three's Company the Breakup Artist, and A Christmas Story. Within these comedies, many original characters have surfaced. You know, we have Batmark Dick Face, which he doesn't look like this really, but that's Foch. And then of course Supermark, who's pretty freaking super if you ask me, just saying. Hammerlin Jameson's a bit of a drunkard, and he tried to get the role of Supermark. It didn't go well. He does all right at a side gig of, newscaster situation. But you can see in that top photo, he's not doing too well these days. Anyway. Dr. Wayne Doppler, tallest man alive, 8'9", Guinness, and he's also in the Batmark and Supermark movie. And Dr. Weasel Fauci, if you don't know who he is, wear 5,647 masks, especially if you're going to Mars. Stuck on Mars. I will be making a movie out of that. Sid 45, make sure you don't get rupees. Sid has rupees literally pouring out of his igloo. Francesco Vigilughi, look, if you ever need a cartographer, there's just one guy. The Curious Case of Ben Affleck Head. It's about a guy with a head so large he could literally change the poles. Oh, Dystopia 2021. If you missed that, that's the world we're living in today. If you haven't seen it, I did a couple episodes on it. BB Poo Poo. Don't forget we did 3 cryptos this year. BB Poo Poo, Pee Pee Poo Poo, and of course, Shibbity Bibbity Boo. But it almost was wrecked because of the original Shick Shiggity Boo Boo. Well, look, people are still on the fence, Things were pretty bad for BB Poo Poo at the beginning. And of course, we have many episodes of Spider-Mark, Peter Marker. If you didn't know, check it out. Mark Pirates of the Caribbean. That was a hilarious movie. And then if you can't dance, you just, watch this episode. There's 2 of them. Really good stuff. And did you watch Match Game? I did it. And Pressure Luck in it. We did a little Pressure Luck style too, Peter DeMarkin. And if you didn't see Waterworld 2027, I'm the last one left because of the bugaboo. We did many other homages to movies and TV shows and Pache Mulder.
Sonny, you still got the cough?
There are over 100 insane scenes with Dick Pache. And then of course I saved the world, saved all the animals and stuff too. Zuckerchooch, Donald Trump show, make sure you check that out. And we did a couple of raps over the last year. You may not want to miss those.
Trump, Biden, and Christopher Walken rapping?
Yeah. Back to the Future, Mark. Guys, the next movie that's coming out, Back to the Future, Mark. You may not remember some of the characters that I was in the past, so let's just go over it in real time. Marxist, I did it. 10 Commandments. Mark Stradamus, telling the future, of course. Oh, and the artwork I created as Leo Marco da Vinci.
The Mona Lisa? When I got that freaking red, like murdering a family?
That was what O.J. Simpson of the 1600s. Hey, Michelangelo, after you finish that, sculpture, you think you could paint this ceiling? Got it. Circumnavigating the globe is Mark Jellin.
Markola Tesla? If I didn't do my time here as Markola, you guys would have nothing when it comes to electricity.
I still can't believe it. I'm sitting there, I'm writing the Fur Elise, right? I'm in the middle of it. And they're scratching it out and they're writing freaking that hack Beethoven's name on it, right? Don't even get me started on what they did when I was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Doing the fifth and taking all that work?
And then, like modern days, when I'm doing Mark and M, doing the 8 Mile situation. Mark and M's the man now, but what I paved the way is the Marktorious B.I.G. as well. When I was Mark Claude Van Damme, I remember that one.
Oh, Mark Schwarzenegger? You didn't know I was Mark Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, that was funny when I worked next to DeVito. The Emancipation Marklamation of 1863. I did my time as Abraham Mark Lincoln.
You guys didn't know I was Abraham Mark? You guys are all Mark Della.
That's why this is all part of the Mark Della effect. Everybody's like, Mandela, man. No, it's Mark Della. Get with it. And then the time I was Mark Guyver, remember, you give me a friggin' toothpick and some tooth floss and we're off. I'm building a bomb. So that's just a good overview of a lot of the shows, not all of them. We have tons of new gear up on the website, guys, markpires.com. And there you can pick up your gear, you can pick up a signed CD, and also don't forget about beatseat.rocks, my invention that I patented. This is her sitting on it. And this is a little demo I made. Welcome to BeatSeat.rocks. My name is Mark Pires, and I'm the inventor of the Beat Seat. Today I'm going to share all of the details of the Beat Seat. It's the ultimate percussion drum. You can play it with your hands and feet while sitting completely upright. It's got 4 playable panels, omnitone. Everywhere you hit it sounds different. It's the first drum you could sit completely upright and play with your hands and feet at the same time. It's the Beat Seat. It's the only drum that you can play with your hands and feet while sitting completely upright. Anything you'd play in a drum kit, you could play on this, because you're playing with your entire body, but you're sitting upright. Your feet do this. So that's the Beat Seat, the ultimate percussion drum. You can play it with your hands, with your feet at the same time. It has unlimited tones. There's so much to explore. I hope to build one for you. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. And of course, fam, I can't leave you without a little bit of motivation. So take these quotes with you as we get ready to rock for one more night. And yes, we will be doing it again tomorrow. So, until I see you in just a moment, it's Mark Pires. And it's Renaissance Man.
skies blue and I'm going to find a way. Some night when the world stops hating, we're going to find a way.
Tickets are available at the box office. Thanks for helping us keep the theater clean. As you exit the auditorium, please deposit litter in trash receptacles in the lobby. Please be considerate and don't talk during the show.
Thank you for coming to Lowe's. Sit back and relax. Enjoy the show.
It's Monday. It's Mark Pires. And it's Renaissance Man. I'm here to ease my mind and help my living. It's a Renaissance Man. It's the daily variety show, Mark Pires Renaissance Man. I'm here to connect with you, to amplify your current state. And I'm here with you on day 1,127 in a row of the Renaissance Man Show. I'm sorry, 1,128 in a row. Yeah, Zabrowsk, 1,128 in a row. What are you doing? Yeah, I know you're doing the woohoo. I get it. But I'm here. I'm doing it, right? What's that? No, Joanne, I'm fine. Doing a monologue situation. And you're trying to stop me? Well, you file, Zabrowski file, over. Guys, tonight, amazingly exciting to be getting on the air with my brother, Ron Tyler, tonight from EMA. This is a long time coming. We've been talking about this for at least a year. And just recently, I made this new kind of foray into this 2022. We know we have live songwriting, we have live comedy. Every day of the year we're live, so I want to have an interview every day of the year. So if you watch any other shows and you want to see people express themselves a little more than they do typically on the show and maybe get outside the box of what they typically talk about, this is what this platform is about, is for us to get deep into the, to the psyche of what drives a creator to get up and go and continue to deliver, especially with the dangerously negative world we're living in today. So I'm excited. Let me see if Ron's on. The other thing I want to share with you guys is I just uploaded my 13th album in a row, 13 months in a row of an album from this platform. That's 169 songs in 13 months. And they were all written right here live in the moment. We're going to play some of them tonight after Ron comes on, because I edited 5 songs last night for this album. I wanted to make sure we had something. So Ron's still not here. So what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for him to click in is I may play you one of these songs just so you can hear what we did. But we need a woohoo from Zabrowski first. Guys, you gotta get down! Zabrowski style! So, just to give you an idea of what I created, we're in 2022. Zabrowski, I'm putting a pause on this. I'm putting a pause on it, Zabrowski. You're gonna have to wait. I'm feeling it. We're dropping a tune out here. I wrote this, I guess, a week or two before 2022. I did not put it on the Christmas album because it's not necessarily Christmassy, but I do mention Christmas. But there's each of these songs were pretty crazy. I did one called Twilight Zone last night, and we just released it. That's actually the name of the album. I wrote it last night, and we turned it. It's on the album. So the name of the album, actually, to be honest. So. 5 songs completed, or at least edited last night. That's nuts, guys. Usually I'd get 1 song done a day, or 5 songs. I just wanted to make sure this album was totally fire. What I'm going to do instead is play you this right here is the album. This is the 13 songs. It's 20 seconds of each song, so you get a feel of what it is. It's better than playing you a full song. We'll do that later. But while we're waiting for Ron, check this out, guys. This is my newest album 13 in a row. Every song was written live in the moment right here. This is and this is truth music. This is truth music. Driving into the night, yeah. You can feel it in your soul, yeah. You can
we're just getting going. Yeah, we can take them down. Yeah, you and me. 'Cause I swear when we join, we're more powerful than the sun. The darkness will subside, evil will run. Yeah, they're not gonna wait for what's coming. Oh. Fade into the light. Don't stay away. Don't become one with your brother. Yeah, become one with your sister. Yeah, because we're meant to be. We're meant to come together. And if we don't, it's all the end for all. You're in the twilight zone. And when you overpower everyone with a lie, to make it true.
What a great line.
Oh, shame on you. Oh, but that's the world we're living in. These 5 years, I can say, oh, it's not getting better. No, it's only getting worse. So I don't know if we get through. With me. Oh, 2022 will see you. We're coming. I'm flying through it all. 2022. How good it is to see you after what we lived through. All the lies, all the deception. I give a circle, I give a circle, I give a dot dot. Now I got the cootie shot. Holy cow, it's crazy. I got the ultimate protection in the future from the CV9. Who knew it? I knew it when I was in the schoolyard with Mecca Morrison. She said, I give a circle, circle, dot dot, the cootie shot. And now you're good for life. You can give me a high five. Circle, circle, dot dot dot. I got my cootie shot. And I think they got what they deserve. Ask me if you grab for a gun, you're gonna get a gun. Yeah, I'll tell you what, son. Yeah, you can be as stupid as you want. Oh, you put your.
All right, let's get this party going. Ron's on. My brother. Ron, you there? Ron. Let's see if we can get him on. My brother, I see you.
All right, we're together again.
We are together. Let me see if I can ask your camera to join us. If you have your camera. I'm not sure if you have your camera.
I've got a camera.
All right, perfect.
There we are.
There he is.
Hey,
My brother, Ron Tyler.
what's up?
It is so good to see you, my friend, especially here.
Yeah.
I'm so used to being in the chat and enjoying all of your nonstop action-packed reports, but to have you here is awesome. So good to see you,
Yeah,
buddy.
it is. This is great.
Oh, man. So, Ron, you and I had a great chat, maybe what was it, about 9 months ago?
Yeah.
We were right in the middle of this, like, really cool chat, and I said, stop. And you're like, what? I was like, we got to do this on the air, you know, because we were like all this time back and forth on each other's shows, just supporting each other. And we had this nice chat first time. Nobody was listening in, and we're having this great chat about comedy and about everything that is happening in both of our lives. And I'm like, man, this is what people want to know about you. You go out there constantly, you're trying to help people because the new disaster that's right in front of us or what's coming next.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's I know that you've had a fair amount of things happen recently, and you do share when you need to, but in general, I don't know if you've ever really told the full story about how you know, where you went to school and the entire process to how you got to being Ron Tyler, EMA, and that journey, that exciting journey. I think there's ups and downs, and I'd love to get into it a little.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
So tell me, where did you go to school? Let's start there. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Pocatello, Idaho, southwestern Idaho,
Okay.
about 200 miles north of Salt Lake City. And I was there until I was 11 years old. Then our family took off to go to North Dakota for 5.5 years. Lived in Fargo, where temperatures would drop down. Well, you know it. You live in the Midwest there in Chicago.
Well, I'm
You
in
know how
Connecticut.
bad temperatures can get.
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut, but yeah, I've been out there once, and I did watch the show Fargo. If that
Yeah.
helps at all.
I forgot you're in Connecticut. Yeah, but in Fargo, temperatures would drop down below zero and stay there for 3 to 4 months of the year.
Wow.
It snowed from September to May
Wow.
in Fargo. That's no joke.
Like
We
the whole
had-
time.
We had snow until the first part of May, and then it quit. And then it would be summer. There was no spring. There was no spring.
Snow to
Then-
summer.
The snow and ice would start melting, and then we get a bunch of snow, and it would melt. But you could get snow in Fargo, North Dakota, until May, and then it would get warm, and then it would get hot. From about June to August, you'd be in 85 to 95 degree temperatures, sometimes 100.
Wow.
Then in September, you would get fall temperatures, and then all of a sudden by the end of September, it would start snowing again.
Wow.
So from September to May 1st, May 3rd, maybe 10th even, you get snow. You could have snow all that time. Then on top of that, in that spring, summertime period, because of all that rapid snow melt and ice melt, the Red River of the North would flood. And every year that I lived there, we had these great big huge corks. And I'm talking, these corks were probably 10 inches long. They would start off being very, very small at the one end and get to be about that big around at the top end. And you'd stick them in the drains in your basement. Or if you had a toilet, you'd stick it in the toilet in the basement, because if you don't, all that runoff would come filtering back into your house, and it would either come up in the floor drain or in the toilet. So you'd have, in the downstairs areas of your house, you had to plug your water sources,
All your
sewage
drains.
sources.
Wow.
So we do that. The Red River would flood and flood and flood, and people would be homeless or lose their homes. And in an area where some friends of mine live, and it's interesting because this one guy, the father of this one family, he worked for Mutual New York, and he had hired my dad as the assistant manager of Mutual New York way back then to be his assistant manager of the office there in Fargo. And my dad was the assistant manager and training manager for Mutual New York there in North Dakota. And we left there in the spring summer of 1972, because during the previous winter, my father was out on the road headed towards, coming back from Jamestown, North Dakota, which was like 45 minutes away from Fargo, east of Fargo or west of Fargo. And he was coming back from Jamestown, and he got caught in a blizzard for 3 days, stranded on the side of the road in a blizzard.
How old were you?
At that time, I was maybe 15.
Wow.
And he was stranded, 15, 16. He was stranded on the side of the road on Interstate 94, west of Fargo. And there was a payphone off to the side of the highway. And at that point in time, there were no fences that separated the highway from frontage roads or anywhere else. It was a small barrel pit on the side of the road, a shoulder, and then you could walk over to the road or a service station, whatever, and use a phone or buy gas, or sometimes you could just drive off the highway over the little ditch into the service station, literally, and go in the service station, get gas, get right back on the highway. You had your own on-ramps there. But anyway, my dad saw a telephone not far, one of those paid telephones, not far from the highway. So he tried to get out of the car and hike to the telephone. And he got maybe 100 feet from the telephone, and he goes, I can't go any further. I'm getting too cold. I'm going to pass out. So he hurried back to the car, got back into his car, and we had these, those tea candles that you can buy in the stores?
Yeah, yeah.
We had a bunch of those in our cars back then, and he had a station wagon. And so in the wintertime, we'd put heavy wool blankets in the back of the car. We put jackets, extra food, extra water, just in case something like this happened. And everybody did that. If they traveled at all, they put all this kind of stuff in the car, as well as tools to fix your car and sandbags.
Wow.
Usually, my father used to have 100-pound sandbags he used to carry around in the back of his car all winter long.
Wow.
If you got run off the road or something, you can just dig out the snow out from there and throw some sand for traction and get yourself out. And that actually happened with a friend of mine that we were visiting, this little old lady outside of Fargo. This is no joke. She was 80-something years old, and the only contact she really had with civilization, especially during the winter months, is if someone would come to visit her. And my dad had asked me and one of my dad's buddies to drive out there to what they called Wild Rice, Minnesota. It was just on the eastern side of the North Dakota-Minnesota border, out there in the sticks. Sticks, maybe a half hour drive from our house in Fargo. So we'd go out there, and I got stalled with my friend, my dad's friend out there, and we went into the ditch. We couldn't get out of there. Huge snowbank. We drove into it. We got stalled out there, and my dad's friend and I hiked to a telephone, called my dad. He came out with his truck. He also had a truck. Came out with his truck, and we shoveled the car, my dad's friend's car out, and put us back on the road and went back to Fargo.
Wow.
And later, it turned into a blizzard. We were lucky to get back home. Anyway, we moved from Fargo to San Diego, California in 1972. That was my first time in San Diego. It was in 1972. We moved there to a town called Poway, just north of San Diego City. And Poway at the time maybe had 20, 25,000 people, and now they have 100 and some thousand people today. Back then, there was one stoplight.
Wow.
One stoplight.
In the whole
in that
town. Wow.
2 7-Eleven stores, a Safeway store, and one stoplight, and a bowling alley. That was it. You could see horses trotting or walking down the street with their riders
Wow.
back in the day.
That's
And
amazing.
then a few years after that, it got busier and busier and busier. They built more houses in that area. And then they said, okay, you guys can't ride horses on the roadway anymore. And there was actually a really cool place, a store where you could buy milk. It was a milk dairy place that had a store built into their dairy. They sold other things besides milk there too. But there was actually a place to tie off your horse there. And so
Old
people
school.
would ride down there with their horse, tie it to this hitching post. That's what it was. It was a hitching post, tie their horse to the hitching post, go in the store, buy some milk, whatever, and ride back to their home.
That is
That's
crazy.
the kind of place, okay? That was a wild, wild west coming to Southern California.
I'll say.
But after that, a few years after that, you couldn't do that. More and more houses being built, more and more traffic. And so the horses kind of stopped riding up and down Poway Road. But it was still a cowboy town.
Interesting.
Regardless, it was a cowboy town. And now it's a small metropolis there. 100,000 people just in that town of Poway. And San Diego County was part of Poway, or Poway is part of San Diego County. Now, San Diego County is upwards of 3 million people.
Wow. So there was 25,000 you said originally?
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because I'm thinking about, I'm just curious, you were 15 when your father is stuck for 3 days in the middle of a blizzard.
Yeah.
Had you found an interest in helping people prior to that time, or do you feel like some things like this where you were kind of feeling like you couldn't do a thing, you felt like almost helpless, and like you wanted to do something and almost like spurning into action saying, well, I gotta make sure I can help in some way going forward? Was that some of the catalyst, or were you already motivated to help people in some way prior to that?
Well, it's funny you say that, because my family, because we lived in that area, And most families in North Dakota, I don't know whether they do it now or not. Some of them probably do, especially if they're rural, live on a farm or do ranching out there, whatever. They probably have the same mentality to pack things in their cars in wintertime, and also pack other food and stuff in case they get stuck, or they have a go bag basically.
Okay.
Okay. They have water. Back then it was jugs of water, big gallon jugs of water. Now everybody probably has those, 20-ounce throwaway bottles.
Yeah.
But that's how we lived there. And so it was kind of an emergency preparedness thing. And my parents always believed in that. We had a garden. My mother canned fruits and vegetables and all sorts of stuff.
Brilliant.
If they didn't have fruit, my mom would go out to the store and buy it and can it anyway. So we always had that kind of mentality. And when we moved to San Diego, my mother and father both still were on that mentality thing. And they continued to bake and cook and can and everything. I remember coming home when I was a kid living in Idaho, and a kid living in North Dakota or San Diego, coming home and smelling fresh bread that my mother would bake. And she'd bake 4 or 5 loaves at a time, twice a week. So
That's cool.
that's what we had. And then in San Diego, one of my aunts, which was married to my dad's brother, came down to San Diego because my parents were asked to put together an emergency preparedness dinner at their church.
Wow.
And my mom called and said, Ron, we want you and your wife to come down there and help us do this emergency preparedness dinner. We're basing it on people having food storage. It was called a food storage dinner, how to use your food storage. Now, everything that we made for that dinner, and there was maybe 100, 150 people that came to this emergency preparedness dinner. Everything that my parents made were things that we had in our house. It was nothing that my parents had to go to the store and buy and bring back. This was food that my parents had in their food storage. Wheat, for example, they had probably close to 1,000 pounds or more of wheat, red Wyoming or Montana wheat. And my parents had 2 different kinds of grinders. One was a rehabilitated stone-on-stone coffee grinder. You had to crank it.
Okay.
That's how they used to grind coffee. But my dad cleaned it up and played with it so he could grind wheat with that old-time wheat grinder. Then he said, why can't I put a little motor attachment to shake those rocks together instead of me grinding it? So that's what he did. He figured out how to attach those stones to this motor to shake them to grind his wheat.
That's brilliant.
So he did it electrically. Then he went and bought my mother a really good wheat grinder. And they said originally you could take that coffee grinder and crack the wheat where it wouldn't be completely flour. It would be cracked wheat. And they used to boil that. I'm serious, that my mother used to get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and boil this cracked wheat and make mush out of it, just like oatmeal. You grind it up, you boil that cracked wheat and put a little honey on it, and you got mush, and it was good. It was really good. So this was my education way back in North Dakota and even Idaho before that.
Wow.
On how to do food storage. My parents believed in that. So in San Diego, my mother asked my dad's brother and his wife, because my dad's brother's wife, Lorraine, had written a wheat cookbook, how to use wheat on an everyday basis. You could make wheat chili, and I've done this. I've actually cracked wheat, yes, cracked wheat, and boiled it, and you can take those little beef bouillon cubes, okay, and put it in the water that you're boiling this cracked wheat with. You drain it and mash it up and put it in this chili. Okay. So instead of using chili beans or all chili beans, sometimes you can use a little bit of, pinto beans or brown beans or black beans and onions and ground beef and put your chili together. But the majority of it was cracked wheat. And because my mother used those beef bouillon cubes and had those beef bouillon cubes in that water that the wheat was boiled in, it tasted like hamburger. And you can't know the difference.
It's better than the Beyond Burger stuff they have now, right?
Yeah, better for you anyway. So
that's true.
A few years ago, when I lived in Utah, I was invited to a dinner like that. Now, those people in Utah put a dinner together, but people went out of their way to go to stores and buy stuff at the stores and make stuff from the store and take it to this emergency preparedness dinner. And somebody said, boy, this is a great preparedness dinner. And I raised my hand. I said, can I say something? And I told that bunch of people at that preparedness dinner what we did when I was a kid, when I was younger. When I was a kid back in North Dakota, and back when my parents taught us in North Dakota and in San Diego about cracked wheat and how we put together those dinners then. So I told people a few years ago what we did. You don't go to the store and buy emergency preparedness food and just put it together then. Use what's in your house. That way you'll get used to using food stuff that you have in your house. Because one day, and it's happening, we've already been seeing it, stores are running out of product.
Yeah.
We're hearing about it, we're seeing it. I have pictures on my cotton picking phone here of rows and rows of shelves, not just in Walmart, but in stores similar to Lucky or Safeway or those kind of food stores, grocery stores. Rows and rows and shelves of where there used to be food, they're bare.
Yeah.
This past week, I went to Walmart and I went to another grocery store just down the street from me too. The grocery store down the street from me had no milk at all. None. No whole milk, no 2%, no 1%, no nothing. They had a few large containers of yogurt. They had some small containers of yogurt and a few containers of sour cream and some cheese. But other than that, their dairy case was barren, nothing there. And the same thing happened at the store just down the street from me. And it was a good sized store like Safeway. It's called Food Lion. The same thing, no milk. And some of the other products in the store, the shelves were bare. This is happening all over the United States. I can show you pictures of that people have sent me showing bare shelves in their stores literally all over the country.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I got it too. I mean, it's a weird thing because it will be like a Tuesday, I'll go in and there's nothing. And then on Wednesday they got the delivery, but I do have to say everything's very odd right now. Nothing makes sense. And you'll go in there one day and you're like, oh, I guess you guys don't have orange juice anymore. And then like 3 days later, they have too much orange juice, but there's no mushrooms or something. So it's like everything's out of whack. And that's a whole other subject we'll get to later. So let's stay on point here because I was about to go into it. I'm about to go into it, Ron.
This is what I grew up with. Okay. I was a normal kid in high school. My first 2 years of high school were in Fargo. Okay. This was back in the 1970s, I think 1972 or 73, when Apollo 13 blew up out in space. We almost lost 3 astronauts. Their service module that was behind, say this part of my hand right here is the command module, Apollo command module. Underneath it, it had a cylindrical piece of spacecraft that was a service module. It carried oxygen and nitrogen as fuel to fire the the rocket engines that would take them to and from the moon. So anyway, and then the lunar lander was on top of the command module, and this had docked to it. Back in the day, that service module behind the Apollo spacecraft blew up. There was an electrical fire, a short circuit in the electrical system of the command module blew up, and it blew the one side of the command module out into space, and the oxygen was gone. Their oxygen system was gone. They had to hook up a jury rig system through the lunar lander to provide them with enough oxygen to get back to Earth. And right before they entered the Earth's atmosphere, they had nothing left of the lunar lander, and they jettisoned it. It burned up in the Earth's atmosphere. Whereas the command module still had just barely enough, like 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes of oxygen to get them through the atmosphere and landing in the ocean. That happened. We saved 3 astronauts' lives. During this whole episode, I was a kid in North Dakota, 14, 15 years old? But I'd been interested in space since I was a little kid, back when we had a single astronaut in a capsule called the Mercury program. I watched every manned space flight that the United States ever set up. And because I knew more about what was going on with Apollo 13 out in space trying to get back home, my teacher asked me to explain it to the class. And then several other teachers wanted their kids to hear this. So I was explaining it. And I was almost always on the phone that week when Apollo 13 was out there. I was on the phone talking with Houston, Texas, to the Manned Spacecraft Center. So anyway, they sent an astronaut to Fargo. And we held an assembly, not at the high school. Originally, it was supposed to be at the high school, a high school assembly. They thought that there was such a need for the entire city of Fargo and Moorhead. Moorhead was on the Minnesota side of the Red River, just across the river. So people from Moorhead and Fargo came to the Civic Center in Fargo to hear this astronaut speak, only because I had been in contact with NASA at the time, okay? Now, why am I relating this to emergency management? Because it was all about preparedness. This whole thing was about preparedness. NASA, when they had this command or the service module blow up in space, they had to get all of the engineers together and other astronauts that had been associated with the Apollo program and jury rig a system to get those astronauts home. They were prepared and had redundant systems on board the spacecraft that got them home. This is called emergency preparedness. And I was talking about this back in the day. Now, leaving the space kind of thing, back to when my parents were doing these food storage dinners, helping people be able to realize what they had in their home could possibly save their lives. If something happened, and it wasn't just in case of an earthquake. It wasn't in case we had a 3-day blizzard, because in Fargo, we had many 3-day blizzards. During that 5.5 years we were there, we had a lot of 3-day blizzards. There were upwards of 4 feet of snow.
Wow.
Per house in Fargo. This is no joke. Temperatures dropping down below 0. And in fact, I was out with a snowblower several winters. My dad had a snowblower, and I was blowing everybody out in the middle of a blizzard so people could get back to their homes and not have to be stalled out on the roadway trying to get through a snowbank into their driveway. So I was blowing them out in blizzards. Anyway, getting back here, it was called preparation. Preparation. That's what I was raised with. And these food storage dinners, we talked about how to keep food in your house so in case something would happen, that you would survive. You wouldn't have to go to the store because you had the goods and services at your house. You didn't have to go anywhere. This is how I was raised. And so it's been a part of my life way back when. And I've been doing preparedness stuff literally all my career. When I was a police officer, I was not a San Diego cop. I was a federal officer. I was in charge of talking about emergency preparedness with other officers. At the police academy, they were telling police officers, guys and women, you have to have food enough to survive with you in your police car in case we send you someplace that you can't get home. At the least, have a 72-hour supply of food with you in your police car to be able to have with you in case we can't get you home right away. And if necessary, we'll do an aircraft helicopter drop of supplies for you. We can do that. We have access to that. We can do that. So all of us used to have a spare uniform in the car with us. I had a pickup truck, a Nissan pickup truck at the time, with a camper shell on the back of it. I used to have a spare uniform, 2 pair of jeans, a spare shirt similar to what I'm wearing tonight. And I didn't realize I had a button right there. I hadn't done it. Anyway, we had enough wherewithal because in the police academy, we warn people. We warn the officers to have their clothes with them. A spare set of shoes, a spare set of boots, a spare clothes, and a 72-hour kit with food. Every officer had that. And I had it in a backpack. I would take that backpack out of my truck and put it in the back of the police vehicle. Okay, either in the trunk when we had these Ford LTD, remember this car?
Yep.
The Ford LTD police cars.
Yep.
We'd have them in the trunk. Okay. Oh, darn it. My model car doesn't have a trunk that raises up. Well, that's crazy. Anyway, we'd have the food and spare uniforms and such in the trunk. When they went to SUVs, we had a Chevy Blazer, we had Ford Explorers. It was easy enough to take that stuff, and I ended up putting it in a Rubbermaid container my dad had bought me. So my backpack was there, my clothes were there. All I had to do is take the Rubbermaid container out of my truck, put it in the back of the police car, and I was a chief accident investigator, okay? I was a traffic accident investigator, and I became the chief accident investigator before I moved to Colorado, where I continued my career until 2009. Anyway, I would take the thing out of my private vehicle, my own vehicle, and put it in the back of the police car. Food, water, and clothing. That's what I did. And I counseled other officers to do the same, and they did. Most of them did. I can't say everybody, but most of them did. I was like the emergency manager when it came to the police department.
Could I just say I should have had that in, and now I'm glad I heard you say this, because this last week would have been like perfect information to have, guys. So I'm driving, which is a brand new 2021 all electric car. Okay, it's the Ford Mach-E. It's all electric, so you got to have electricity in the thing. I have 41% of electricity in this. I'm driving, right? And all of a sudden, these lights, everything in the car goes on. It says, safely pull off the road. I pull off the road. Somehow I got lucky where there was a driveway where there was a piece of land that's for sale, but there's no house there yet. I pull off, and the car, once I put it into gear, it would not go back out of gear. Okay, so it's parked now for good. So I'm calling Ford to try to get them to come and help me. And they're like, and the message says, it could be a while. Like, it could be a while. And so I'm like, okay. And then I'm thinking about it, Ron. I think I had like a couple of chips and like a little bit left of my coffee. And then the worst part about this is I wasn't prepared with, I think I had my gloves, so that was good. I had a scarf, but I had nothing else to eat. I didn't have any additional way to reach anyone because without my phone, without my car on, I couldn't turn the Wi-Fi on and use my phone to call. It was a dead zone where I was. So it was so cold that day. I would have had to walk a mile or something to find any signal. And it just made me think of what you said. Like, I was so unprepared. for my 2021 car to break down. Like, of course, you would never assume you're 21, but the whole point to breaking down is no one ever expects a breakdown is going to happen, regardless. 2021, 1974 Chevy, it doesn't freaking matter. No one expects a breakdown. Be prepared. I didn't have my 3-day bag there.
Yeah.
I was
We were
missing out.
told to keep at least a half a tank of gas in our private vehicles, always. We were told to keep the 72-hour kits there, to keep any of our law enforcement tools in the back of our own vehicle in case we had to leave from home to go to a scene. Now this happened. I think it was 1993 or 94. We had an earthquake in San Diego. Now we had a couple good-sized shakers before that. I think about 1987 we had a 5.4, something like that. And I was in Vista, California at the time, and I had an Adobe built house, built in 1907. It was laid out in an X, with the living room being in the middle of the X, and each wing, one wing was the kitchen and dining room. The next wing was 2 bedrooms. The next wing was 2 bedrooms, and the other wing was 2 bedrooms. And each wing had 2 bedrooms and a toilet, a bathroom. Unreal. House built in 1907. Beautiful house with a great big, huge rock fireplace in the living room in the middle of that X. Huge fireplace. The living room was 1,400 square feet. Can you
Wow.
believe it?
1,400, you said?
1,400 square foot living room.
That's insane. That's like,
Yeah. And on one side of the living room, opposite that fireplace, it was windows with 2 sets of French doors that were windows.
wow.
Wooden framed windows that led out to the back patio. Okay. This house was built out of adobe block. Now, can you imagine this happened at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning? I remember it vividly. The earth shook and it was shaking violently. The walls of that adobe house were moving like waves in the ocean. The glass in the windows were moving like waves in the ocean. This was a strong earthquake. My wife at the time grabbed hold of me and had such a death grip on me, it was limiting the amount of oxygen that I could get.
Wow.
I could hardly breathe. This woman had hold of me, squeezing the life out of me. We had 2 kids at the time.
Maybe
2
that's
daughters,
why.
both of them small kids.
Oh, right.
As soon as the earth stopped shaking and I wiggled myself away from my wife, I went across the house to the kids' bedrooms. They slept through it.
Wow.
They slept through it. One was a baby and the other one was a 2-year-old. Figure that one out. And they slept through it, fortunately.
Yeah.
Now, later in 1994, this was about 86, 87 time period. Back in later, about 1993 or 94, I was living in an apartment by myself. I divorced my first wife for other things I'm not even going into. But I was living by myself there. We had another earthquake. It was probably a 5.6 magnitude quake. And I've told this story on my channel. I've told it so many times to hundreds of people, I'm sure. I like sleeping on the edge of the bed. That earthquake hit, it thrust me into the air and off the bed. I landed on the floor right beside my bed. And there was a window above my head, a 4-foot long window, probably almost 3 feet tall window. And I saw the glass moving like an ocean again. And I knew it was serious. And I scrambled to get back on the bed and I rolled over to the other side of the bed, grabbed a pair of pants, put them on. And at the time, we were all told to stand, if we had an earthquake, to stand in a doorway. Why? Because there's a great big piece of wood there called a header.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was thought that if you stood in your doorway, it would protect you from anything falling and hitting you. Wrong. They started realizing from other earthquakes that header can come down, and it's big enough and heavy enough, it'll kill you in a heartbeat. Now they're telling us Don't stand in the doorway. And I'll tell you what I did during that earthquake in a second. They tell you to get underneath a table or a desk that's very sturdy. Get under a sturdy desk or a table. Get under there, it says down, hold on, and cover. Make sure you keep underneath that desk or table and hold on to the legs. If that desk or table moves, you still got hold of it to protect yourself. Okay? Drop, cover, and hold on is what they're telling us.
Okay.
That's the current thing. Back in that day, back in San Diego, back to that Sunday morning. Again, it was another Sunday morning. This was a second very large earthquake that I was in San Diego. The second one. Got thrown off the bed, rolled around, got up, rolled off the bed, grabbed a pair of pants, and ran to that first doorway between my bedroom and the living room. Then I realized I saw pieces of the ceiling falling down off the ceiling. Pieces of drywall, and remember that popcorn stuff that they used to put on ceilings?
Yep.
Some places they still have that.
I still have it in my living room upstairs if you want a picture.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's unreal. But I saw that falling off the ceiling and that earth was still shaking. I don't know how long it took me to get up off the floor, but it wasn't very long. And it was seconds to roll off to the other side of the bed, throw some pants on, and stand in that first doorway. And then I saw ceiling particles falling off the ceiling onto the floor. I'm going, this ain't good.
Yeah.
And it was still shaking, badly shaking. I saw the walls moving. Building was shaking. So I went to the front door. Like an idiot, I threw open the front door. It had a header. Okay, we were told to stand in the doorway.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I realized that my neighbor upstairs, their concrete landing was right above me. And pieces of concrete were falling to the ground.
Wow.
I'm going, this ain't right either. So I looked around really quick and I said, I'm making a mad dash to the courtyard. Number one, there were no power poles around me, no buildings to collapse on me, no trees to fall on me, no nothing. So I ran to the middle of the courtyard. There I thought I was safe. Then probably an 80-some-year-old man that lived in the next building across from me, he ran out of his apartment and grabbed hold of me and was choking me. He had a death grip on me, just like my ex-wife had before. Then my neighbor, again, how long had the earth been shaking? Probably 5 or 6 minutes by this time.
Wow.
My neighbor scamped down her, really scamped or tramped or ran down her stairs, and her stairs, the concrete landing of her apartment was falling down still. You can still see flecks of concrete falling. So she ran up to me. Now I've got two people with a death grip on me. I'm dying. I'm dying. These two people are scared out of their living minds. And I will tell you, I wasn't scared, but I was frightened that these two people were going to kill me. If the earthquake didn't kill me, these two people were. They were going to squeeze the life out of me. And then with both of them squeezing the life out of me, I heard water. And I'm going, oh, great. Where's that sloshing water coming from? All of a sudden, I realized that there was a pool not more than 50, 70 feet away from me. And I looked over to the pool, and the pool was having waves crashing over onto the deck of the pool.
Oh, my goodness.
And this was maybe a 50-foot long pool and maybe 20 feet wide. So this pool has got waves crashing out of the pool. And I'm going, oh, this is great. This is great. The walls of the pool are going to cave in. This is the thing I was thinking. Walls of the pool are going to cave in. We're going to have a huge wash of water out of that pool. Nobody's going to get hurt from or drown because of that pool. It'll just collapse in on itself. So anyway, this pool water was sloshing. The ground was still shaking. Finally, the ground stopped shaking. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can breathe again because these two people let loose a little bit. I can finally breathe again. And I'm going, okay, guys, I will advise you. And by this time, there were other people huddled out with their families in this courtyard. They had also gotten out of their apartments. And I told them all, I would advise you, at least for the next few hours, go carefully into your apartments and get the food and stuff necessary and go outside and stay out here for at least several hours to make sure we don't have an aftershock that could kill you. All earthquakes will have aftershocks, and they did. I went into my apartment and was putting together the clothes that I would have to get through this day. Then the phone rang. We did not have cell phones in the day. These things didn't exist until the mid-90s, mid to late 90s. So my phone rang, and it was my police captain. Ron, I need you to go get your partner, Nick. I won't give you his last name. His real name was Nick, though. I need you to go get your partner, Nick. Stay off the highways. Take the surface streets to your partner's house. His house was about 5 miles west of me. So that's what I did. The captain said, go get your uniform shirt. Make sure you have your duty belt, which was a radio and handcuffs and your gun and pepper spray and ammunition. Get your duty belt, put it on. Tell Nick to do the same thing. I'm going to call him too. And I want you two to go out in your truck, because I had a black and white truck. A black Nissan pickup with a white camper shell. It looked like a police unit. So anyway, I went out in my truck, and we were told to help patrol the highways to see if the highways had been damaged, to assist the highway patrol and the California Department of Transportation in assessing the worthiness of highways to survive after that quake. We closed 2 highways that day. Big, huge cracks going across the highway. We called it in and got road crews come out and try to repair it, except for one of them. One of them. It had you know how they have 2 sides of each side of the bridge going over a highway, going over a roadway?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 sides of the bridge. One went parallel with the one side of the bridge, one huge long crack. And that crack was this big, this wide. And it was a long crack. The other crack that made us even more worried was a crack about this wide. And it ran across the highway bridge. You could see the ground below it. That concerned me. So I looked at Nick and he goes, we're going to close this, aren't we? I said, yeah, we're going to close it. And we did. We closed the bridge. We closed one other section of another highway earlier that day. So we closed this highway bridge. Why am I telling you all about it? Because, guys, San Diego, Los Angeles, or wherever else that you might live. You could live in Salt Lake City. You could live in Connecticut. Connecticut has had some quakes. You guys in Connecticut have a volcano there.
What?
Whether you know it or not.
We have a volcano in Connecticut?
Yes. It's
Where?
called the Sleeping Giant volcano.
Sleeping Giant. I used to climb Sleeping Giant when I lived in college. We went up there middle of the night doing nefarious things.
Yeah. A few years back, this is no joke, just a few years back, a lady who had been watching my program, so it must not even been a few years, maybe 2 years back, because I might have been on the air for about a year at the time. A couple of years ago, she called me, Ron, I feel some shaking near my house. And she was about 4 miles away from the Sleeping Giant. And she said, I smell some sulfur in the air. And I'm going, crap. She says, can you do some checking and see if we got a volcano? And so I did. And I called her back. And I don't remember her name right off the top of my head. Some people thought she was a little loony upstairs. She wasn't. She did smell sulfur. Guess what? She went over to the Sleeping Giant Park. Now, you guys need to know what the Sleeping Giant is. It's a mound of earth and rock.
It looks like a
Wow.
person laying down. It really looks like it's like a giant laying down and just fell asleep and never woke back up. And if you look at it from above, it's freaky because it looks just like. And you know what? It's interesting you bring up this thing about the volcano, because I've been doing some research of how they say there were these giant creatures and giant alligators millions of years ago, and potentially 50 to 100 foot men and women walking around the planet. And was this someone who just passed away and now everything just, you got like 50, 100 feet of dirt on top of this giant who's there underground? I could see it because it's literally a perfect outline from head, body, the arms, and then the toes even come up at the very end. It's like, so but the volcano thing I'd never heard. I've been here in Connecticut since I was 14 years old. Never heard that in my life, that there's a volcano in Connecticut. And
That's a volcano. And it was smoking.
Wow.
That day she went out there because she said, I can be out there in a half hour. And she was. And she took pictures. I've got pictures of the sleeping giant myself. I didn't know it. I did a little bit of research on the internet and realized, oh my gosh, it's a freaking volcano. It's a park. Now, the story of this is it's a sleeping giant. They say it was an Indian. There's a legend that goes with this.
Oh, okay.
Well, the Indian chief laid down and died out there. Okay. There's a legend. You'd have to hear the whole story. I don't remember the whole story. The legend has it, it's a sleeping Indian chief. Okay. But it was smoking and you could smell sulfur out there. And so I thought, okay, we got to find out exactly what is happening. So I called Yale. You know where Yale is?
Yeah, 30 minutes from me.
University. I called their seismology department and talked with one of the professors there. And I got confirmation that that was a volcano. And I told her what I thought was going on and what I had been told about everybody in the area that smelled sulfur. She goes, that's not good. So she sent some seismologists out there and they verified the smell of sulfur. That means magma had gotten in that area. There are magma tubes all over the United States feeding the volcanoes, whether it be the sleeping giant, whether it be the huge caldera in the middle of Lake Superior, whether it be in Yellowstone, whether it be at Mount Rainier in Washington, whether it be up in Maine. Yes, folks, we have a huge sleeping volcano up there in Maine, between Maine and Quebec. Huge volcanic caldera, a super volcano there. And guess what? We've had earthquakes there. We've had a lot of small and okay, there's three kinds of earthquakes that I want to tell you about that happened there around that super volcano up there in Maine and Quebec area. It's a super volcano, huge caldera. You can go to Google Earth and verify it, okay? People there have been getting 2.5s, which are minor earthquakes, 2.4s, 2.7s. They're getting 3.1s, 3.5s there. Those are considered small quakes. And last year, they had a 3.0, which was a small quake, and then they had a 4.5, which is a moderate earthquake. Why are they having earthquakes? Because the magma is going back to the volcanoes. It's charging the volcanoes. That's why these earthquakes are happening at these volcanic centers. But magma is charging those volcanoes. And yes, one day they're going to pop.
Let me ask a stupid question. I know there's a lot of them, but I have one right now. Okay, so
Nothing's a stupid question.
So you've got these calderas, you called it, right? But so you have all of these different volcanoes all over the planet. Are they just chambered, pits of lava or magma, or is it all from the molten core of the earth and it's tributaried out to all these different volcanoes, and potentially the movement of the earth or whatever it is causes, the friction and causes this, the steam to build up and to explode out of different portions of the planet at different times? That's what happens. Does it start from one source? Like,
there's one source. It's in the South Pacific, east of the islands of Tonga and Samoa, that area. There's a huge magma plume coming up from the center of the earth, what they call the asthenosphere. That is a huge magma pool in the earth. It's called the asthenosphere. Guess what? It's anywhere from 39 miles to 69 miles below the crust of the earth that you and I walk on. That's how
39 miles.
close all this magma is. And it is being distributed to that magma plume coming out of the center of the earth. And then the magma goes through magma channels all over the earth, literally, through the crust, all over the earth, distributed to all the volcanoes. Okay, that's what's going on.
So
Now,
could you
go ahead.
theoretically bore a hole to create release the pressure and have that in one location on Earth, so it's big enough of a borehole where you can, whenever you need to, you just alleviate pressure so you can. That may be a stupid thing, but I'm just curious, like if you could ever bore a hole enough in order to alleviate that pressure so it's not always building up.
No, because then if you got down into in that area where what they call plastic magma is, if you were to bore a hole there into that asthenosphere where that magma is, guess what? You would have yourself a volcano.
Oh,
Because you're releasing some of that pressure, and that magma down there is under a lot of pressure. It's moving throughout the world, throughout the entire planet. That magma is under pressure. You dig a hole into that magma chamber, guess what? It's going to come up through that hole. Okay.
so it's all pressure, no matter what. So basically, what you're saying is, even if you crack a hole anywhere, there's holes everywhere. It's still building up. The pressure's still building up. The holes aren't closed. They're just it's just pools of lava way down below the surface of the earth. Now, interesting to me, you said that it could be 35 to 60 miles an hour. Isn't it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from the surface of the earth to, I don't know if it's the stratosphere or to where the International Space Station is, it's like 60 miles or something like that, right? 70 miles. Like, so it's actually that's a weird thing to think about. Like, we think about how high that seems, but you could dig into the center of the earth and reach magma and around the same distance.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Did you ever hear, this is something I'm curious because I saw this recently. It freaked me out, Ron. So in Russia, something, I don't know if the 70s or 80s, they bore this hole in Russia. You know this? They put a microphone in. Did you ever hear this audio?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. That scares the hell. That's why Ron does a Sunday school. Every Sunday, he's here to save your soul. If you haven't listened to that audio, guys, it is the scariest thing you'll ever hear in your life. It sounds like women screaming and men screaming, and they're like, no! And the microphone, I guess it melted within something like 18 seconds, but that 18 seconds is sheer terror. It sounds like hell. It really does sound like hell.
Art Bell, do you remember a guy named Art Bell?
Yeah, I was in Reno once and listened to him. I was, before he passed, but I remember hearing him once on the air, and I was really interested in the topics, obviously.
Yeah. We used to listen to Art Bell when I was in San Diego as a cop. In fact, it was interesting. If you've ever seen two cops pull up beside each other's car like this,
Yeah.
side by side, 9 chances out of 10, if it's an evening, late evening, from about 7 or 8 o'clock Pacific time, if you're there, those cops are listening. We're not now because Art's dead, but they were listening to Art Bell.
Oh, together. Interesting.
Yeah. All the cops used to listen to Art Bell. They thought, one, he was fascinating. Two, there was a lot of truth to what he said.
Mm-hmm.
But the cops were doing that, coming together. Art Bell had a show about a gentleman that was near that hole. And it was called Mel's Hole.
Mel's
And
Hole.
he played that same audio recording where it sounded like someone was screaming or several people screaming. And like you said, the microphone that was sent down that hole melted, disappeared. Now, this guy whose property this hole is on, or I don't even know whether the guy's alive still. I believe he was the guy whose name was Mel. He put a weight, a rock of some kind, on the end of a rope and lowered it down into that hole. And he said he had several miles of rope that he lowered down into that hole. And it kept dropping. It didn't pile up anywhere in that hole. he dropped it. And he kept lowering it. He had several miles of rope, and he dropped that entire rope down into the hole. That's a deep hole.
Oh yeah.
That is frightening.
That is scary.
Then he pulled it back up. The rope was not twisted or anything like you'd see if the rope came down into a hole and fell into a hole, got curled up or anything.
Yeah, caught up.
It was straight.
Perfectly straight.
It was perfectly straight. He pulled that same rope miles out of the earth.
I thought you were going to say that there was a letter attached that said, "Please help."
Exactly. Wouldn't that be funny? But yeah, I've heard that what I called at the time the Legend of Mel's Hole, and you can go over onto YouTube now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's. I mean, it was on TikTok that I saw it, and I was like, "Whoa, that scared me when I heard that audio. That really scared me."
Scary. But on YouTube, someone has put Art Bell's show on YouTube. You can go back and listen to him.
Oh, cool.
There's some really cool shows on YouTube. Art Bell's.
I'll have to check that out.
It is cool. But Art Bell, it's interesting to know, he had been a friend of law enforcement. He had a lot of close friends in law enforcement. And he did a show where this one cop, a cop, called him from Ohio. Okay. They recorded this audio of a chase, and the title of Art's show was The Chase. And Art played the audio from police cars and the dispatchers that were chasing a UFO. He played it on his show. These cops were getting dispatched from this female dispatcher, and they were chasing this UFO. They kept getting reports this UFO hovering over a home or near this Air Force base. And this one cop climbed an electrical tower to get a better view of the UFO.
Wow.
He had his handheld radio on his side, and he climbed this hole, or this telephone pole, or not telephone pole, I'm sorry, this electrical tower to try to get a view of the UFO. And before, on his way to that tower location, the lady that was dispatching for his police department said, "You can't just leave me here. You need to come get me. I want to see this." And so he dropped by there, picked her up, and she had a handheld radio where she could still dispatch. Somehow, via some cell phone or something, I don't remember exactly, when this was, but I think they had some old cell phones. You remember those great big huge brick cell phones that they had in cars?
The Zach Morris.
I believe that's what they had. And so she was actually the dispatcher from this police department that went out with a police officer to chase this UFO. And other officers were also chasing this stupid thing.
Wow. You know what? That just reminds me, when you have that many eyewitness accounts that are actual police officers, or you think about the amount of Air Force veterans and pilots, from France, from Iran, all over the world, there are pilots who have been in the air with craft that they say, "Look, I couldn't even keep up. Like, they were toying with me." And then you think that we have this T3B, I think it's called, something like that. It's a secret. It's a
command post in the sky.
Yeah, and it's the diamond or the triangle look that we've all seen for years. My question would be this: if we've had this technology, it's ours, it's our secret plane, whatever, why are we still allowing our pilots to fly stupid, aircraft that just go in one direction? I mean, when you have something like this that's running off of the magnetism of the earth or whatever, and you're able to go from 0 to, unlimited speeds, and that is something so scary, but they have it like under wraps. That's why I feel like there's something really odd here. Like, if you had a technology that was so much more superior than everybody else in the world, you would use it. The fact that we hide it tells me that they're trying to be prepared for something else that's coming. It's about nothing that's on this earth currently. It's about something that's coming that is a threat to us. They refuse to let us know because we are always in the dark when it comes to the government. But that's what I see, right? Doesn't it seem like that's Like they're developing this because they know something's coming. Existential threat is coming here, and they want to be ready. They don't want us to be ready. We're the ants that are going to be just magnifying glassed out of it. But they want to be prepared and make sure that the elite can continue on, and with their underground bunkers and everything. But you know, you opened my eyes to something. I was thinking, like, if we have an earthquake here, I'm going for a freaking doorway. I'm glad you told me, Ron. No doorways.
It's better than nothing. But
Yeah, that's
I would
true.
tell you to get underneath a desk.
Desk
or a
would be
table
better.
And hold on to the table so it doesn't move away from you so you get killed by something falling on you. Duck, cover, and hold on. Cover meaning the table, and then hold on.
Duck, cover,
Hey,
hold on.
Duck, cover, and hold on.
It's like stop, drop, and roll. We should make a bumper sticker of that.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting to note, okay? Back about 2014, I was living in northern Utah at the time, south of where I took up residence later. But I was living in a place called American Fork at the time. And they had a 4.5 earthquake allegedly in Los Angeles. And I had heard about it. And one of my friends was a broadcaster for KTLA in Los Angeles, which is Channel 5 LA. Carlos Amesco was his name. He was a reporter. And he was on the air live with his female cohort at the station. They had that 4.5 earthquake. And I tuned in and watched it, okay? I got on my cable, tuned in to KTLA, Channel 5. I paid for it. So you can tune into almost any station as long as there's a satellite feed. You can tune into it just by calling your cable provider. And I had. And I tuned into live to KTLA, and it showed Carlos and his female counterpart look up. They're feeling the ground shaking. They looked up and saw the studio lights doing this dancing above them. And Carlos says, I think we're having an earthquake. And he started getting off his chair as well as a lady anchor that was there, and they dove under their news desk. That is the correct thing to do when you have an earthquake. And it was a 4.5 earthquake. And I got sent there. Being a preparedness person, as I have been, I was called to Los Angeles to help out with the Emergency Management Office, OEM, Office of Emergency Management, Los Angeles. I was called there, and it's funny because about 3 hours after the earthquake happened, I was sitting in my office and going, oh crap, who's this calling me? And it's maybe 10 o'clock at night. And I got called from Los Angeles asking me to come there. And we had done an earthquake drill prior to that in Los Angeles. So they knew of me, they called me, and they asked me to come. And I did. I assisted them in recovering the city. Like I said, there were water mains broken, there were gas mains broken, there were some fires, and glass throughout the city was broken. Great big, huge plate glass windows throughout the city at stores and everywhere were broken, okay? Now, because there were gas mains and water mains broken, they had to figure out where they were, number one, because it was a massive one, okay? This earthquake, they said, was a 4.5, not with that much damage. This was a large earthquake, and LA continues to deny it was a big enough earthquake. Now, why am I talking about this? Because we've been doing preparedness drills all around the country. I've been in 39 states. Now I don't know how many states I've been in now. I've moved too many times, and I'm doing the same thing that I was doing in Utah and Colorado and San Diego, all over the place. I've been in Washington State where we did a drill, I think it was in 2012. We did one of the first earthquake drills in Washington State. We had headquarters in Spokane. We stayed at the Holiday Inn outside the airport. Okay, wonderful place. I love Spokane, beautiful city. We did our first earthquake drill simulating the major earthquake happening, the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. happening. We had the National Guard, we had police and firemen and sheriff's deputies. We had paramedics, EMTs, ambulance teams, everybody there. We had people from Idaho, Oregon, Utah, Arizona, California, there in Washington State. Why? Because every one of these places where these people came from, they know for a fact that they're going to have a major earthquake. We don't know when, but it's going to happen. Seattle area has had multiple quakes, big, large earthquakes, 6s, 6.5, 6.7, 6.9 in the Seattle area. Nisqually was a 6.5 or 6.7, I don't remember. They had that earthquake there. California has had earthquakes. I was in 2 good earthquakes in San Diego. And in 1994, Los Angeles, Northridge earthquake hit. And my partner and I were asked to go to Northridge to assist the LAPD and Northridge and everybody else try to help recover their city. They needed additional law enforcement, so law enforcement converged from all over the place to the Northridge, Los Angeles County area. And I remember, and I've told about this before on my program several times, we decided to make home a park. My partner and I pitched our tents in a park there in Northridge because we didn't feel like hotels would be a safe enough place to be. So we pitched our tents in a park right beside our police cars. We got woken up in the middle of the night, and this happened several times while we were there. We got woken up after an aftershock. I remember sound asleep, and all of a sudden this 5-something aftershock hit Northridge again. It threw me into the air. This is no joke. I was on my back in a sleeping bag, and that earthquake threw me into the air, and I landed with a thud on the ground. I'm going, oh hell, what the heck? And it scared the crap out of me. And we parked our cars, we pitched our tents away from trees and power poles and power lines, and anything could fall on us. So there was nothing real urgent to get out of the tent. But because you're woken up in the middle of the night with a earthquake shaking like that, you don't want to be in that tent any longer. One, your mind's not totally clear. You get woken up with that bad shaker going on, you don't know what's going on. So my partner and I both literally unzipped the tent, and we're out of the tent going, oh, this is stupid. We didn't have to get out of the tent. But here we are standing there together going, my gosh, it's an earthquake. 2 seasoned cops standing in the park. Oh my gosh, we're having an earthquake.
That's a scary, I don't know. I think I told you once before, I had randomly felt some sort of shaking here in Connecticut, and I sent you a note, and I said, hey, Ron, I think we may have just had an earthquake in Connecticut. And you got back a few hours later. You said, yeah, you did. It was a light one, but you did. And I remember the feeling. It was very odd, and it was not long. So, and then I remember as a kid, the San Francisco earthquake, when the Giants were in the World Series, and I was in class, and they had a simulation for us. They said, close your eyes, and we're just going to go 15 seconds. That's how long it was. But there was like, 15 seconds. And the lady's like, do you know how long 15 seconds is? And we're like, whatever. And she's like, close your eyes. And then she counted, did the full 15 seconds. It was a lifetime. If you think about that, the world is shaking and everything's up and down and you don't know what's going on. 15 seconds felt like a year. And I just realized how we can't comprehend time. Time is, it's something we look at on a watch, but sometimes time stops and you can't have it to turn back.
I was in San Diego at the time. I lived in San Diego at the time, and I was a baseball fan, okay? I was a diehard, before I moved to San Diego, I was a diehard Twins fan when we lived in Fargo.
Kirby.
Diehard Twins.
Kirby.
Harmon Killebrew was my hero.
Ooh, great
Home
player.
Run King was a hero, and my father introduced me to Harmon Killebrew.
Oh, that's cool.
Could not believe it. Good guy, a great guy, a hero in a lot of people's eyes. But I was a diehard Twins fan. When we moved to San Diego, I was then a diehard Padres fan. But the 1989 October earthquake in San Francisco was being broadcast literally all around the world.
Oh yeah,
This
that's
is
right.
the World Series. And all of a sudden, before the game started, the shaking started. And I remember watching those newscasters, those sportscasters in the booth in the San Francisco stadiums going, oh my gosh. And they didn't use those words. It was a lot of other words. And some of it went out live, and then they had to bleep it after that. It was funny because they were saying those words on the air, and then they had to later bleep it because they couldn't use that language on the air. But anyway, one of my friends that used to broadcast for the CBS affiliate in San Diego called KFMB, his name was Lauren Nancaro. He had transferred to I think it was KWG or KGW or something in San Francisco. I don't remember exactly, but he was working for another affiliate in San Francisco. He was at the game himself, okay? And he was one of the reporters in that stadium, and he showed live what was going on. His camera person was there filming people literally running out of that stadium. They were shaken up. Some of them ran onto the grass. The team and the groundskeeper invited over the public address system, told people to go into the grass area of the stadium, getting out of the stands there. They also left the area, okay? But pieces of that stadium were falling. And as you remember, folks, if you remember anything about this earthquake in San Francisco, it was a 6.9 on the Hayward Fault. The San Francisco Bay Bridge, not the one that we see in commercials and pictures of, it wasn't that bridge. It was another bridge between Oakland and San Francisco. It went down. There was a double-decker roadway. The top deck fell down on the lower deck, and the lower deck fell down as well. Cars went into the ocean.
I remember that. I remember that, yeah.
Okay? That's what happens when you have an earthquake. Gas mains broke. Serious fires, huge fires, and the fire department could not put them out because the water mains were broken too. They had no water pressure. They had the little bit of water on board their fire trucks. They got huge water trucks from construction sites that came to the site of the fires, and the firemen hooked up their lines from the tanker to the fire truck so they could pump water onto the fire. That's how they tried fighting it. Okay. There were fires over there, big, huge fires. They rescued people with helicopters. They had firefighters and paramedics and police officers risking their life to take people off that bridge that had gone down. A lot of people were killed. And that was a 6.9.
What's the biggest one we've had?
Vividly because my friend Lauren Nancaro was there and broadcasted.
What's the highest we've had? Because 6.9, I remember that being massive. And is it so if you go from 6.9 to 7.0, isn't 7.0 double what 6.9 was?
Yes.
Oh, that just blows my mind. So 7.1 is double 7.0.
No, 7.0 to 7.1 is 10 times the 7.0.
Wow.
7.2 is 20 times. If you go from 7.0 to 8.0, that's 100 times stronger than the 7.0.
So from 1 to 1 is 100 times. Each time you go from a 1 to a 2 is 100 times power. 3 to a 4 is 100 times more powerful than, wow.
Unreal.
It really is. It's so scary. And so what would be, they say the perfect, again, they use that word in a terrible, manner, but the perfect quake, this is a 10.0, is it, or a 9.0? What did they say? Like
they
end
are
of the
expecting
earth.
over on the west coast of the United States, a Cascadia, what they call the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. Now, those folks that have seen my channel, we've talked about this. The earthquake is going to be centered off the coast of Seattle in what they call the Juan de Fuca Fault area, or what they used to call the Farallon Fault. Some scientists and other professors and such believe they call it the Farallon Fault, but it's going to be off the coast of Seattle. They say it's going to be between a 9.0 and a 10.0.
Wow.
It's going to be huge. And that earthquake is going to shake from probably up to 10 to 15 minutes.
And we'll
That's
feel,
how long that quake is going to shake.
and that would be felt on the East Coast, I imagine, right?
That kind of earthquake is going to be felt in some way, shape, or form all the way to the East Coast. It may not be a 5.0 by the time it gets to Connecticut or New York or New Jersey or Maine or Delaware or Vermont. It might be a 3 something by that time, because the further away from the epicenter, the less shaking you're going to get.
Makes sense.
But let's consider this, okay? There's basically 3,000 miles between the West Coast to the East Coast, okay? Let's think of this. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is off the coast of southwest coast of Canada and the northwest coast of Seattle. That's where that epicenter is going to be. It's going to be felt all the way up into Alaska. Why? Because we have the Cascadia subduction zone going all the way up there and meeting up with what fault? The Aleutian Island Fault. Okay, it's going to be felt all the way into Alaska, and that's about 1,000 miles, maybe more. I don't know exactly, but it's a long distance. Okay, on the same token, it's going to be felt all the way down into Mexico. Why? Because the Cascadia subduction zone runs down to Northern California. There are 2 other faults once it gets down to Northern California. One goes off the California coast and goes west into the Pacific Ocean. That's called the Gorda Escarpment. Then the other side, the Cascadia subduction zone meets up with the Gorda Escarpment. But coming off the Gorda Escarpment and the Cascadia subduction zone to the east and south, it's called the San Andreas Fault.
That one I've heard of.
Yeah, so the San Andreas Fault meets up with the Cascadia subduction zone and the Gorda Escarpment. It's called the Triple Junction.
Wow.
That shaking, that energy. Oh, my microphone just came down out of the stand here.
Ron, by the way, I call that a triple decker, just so you know.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, yeah, really. But anyway, so the shaking is going to be felt all the way down the Cascadia subduction zone, all the way down to the Triple Junction and hooking up with the San Andreas Fault. Now, almost 3 years ago, there was a guy who's a professor of seismology at University of Oregon. His name is Chris Goldfinger. Chris Goldfinger held a conference, I think it was December 23rd, 2019 in San Francisco. He theorized, and now it's almost absolute certainty, that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to trigger the San Andreas Fault.
Wow.
And the shaking is going to be felt all the way down the San Andreas Fault into Mexico. Now, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the Cascadia subduction zone triggering the San Andreas. So that whole fault area, all the way from Canada, southwestern Canada, all the way down to Mexico and up to Alaska, is going to feel shaking, severe shaking. Okay? What is going to happen? First off, just coming out of Northern California, what other major city do we have? San Francisco Bay. You thought the 1989 6.9 was bad? Let's think about this. It could be a 7.0 to a 9.0 in San Francisco. The seismic energy is going to travel down those faults. It's going to trigger that San Andreas Fault. So San Francisco is going to be the first major city, and that whole area out to Whittier, not Whittier, that's in Los Angeles. We'll come to LA in a minute. It's going to trigger Walnut Creek. All that area, San Jose, that whole area is going to be a shambles. Okay, you thought that earthquake called the San Andreas Earthquake with our buddy Mr. Johnson, the wrestler, you thought that was pretty cool? That's what's going to happen in San Francisco, no doubt. Okay, there was a lot of truth spoken in that movie. Mr. Johnson knows. Okay, he was trained by seismologists. He acted as if it was actually happening. They taught those actors what was going to happen when the San Andreas triggers like that. And it was a dadgum good movie.
That was a good movie.
It was ridiculous though, the truth to it. It was insane. But it's not going to stop in San Francisco and San Jose and Walnut Creek and other points east and west of there. It's going to go all the way down the coast. We're talking San Simeon. We're talking down into Santa Barbara. We're talking about down into Los Angeles, down into San Diego, and down into Mexico.
So could
all these huge cities, and we've got some pretty darn good sized cities, hundreds of thousands of people that are going to die. I'm serious. Hundreds of thousands of people could die, not just in Washington, but all the way up and down the coast. Go ahead.
Is there a real possibility with all I know, because you're saying that the people could die because of the damage, but is there a real possibility of a break off and land separating from the continental United States, so to speak? So now all of a sudden we have more islands on the West Coast, something, or, is that I've been hearing that since I was a kid. Is that a very real possibility with a 9.5 or a 9.6 that something like that could happen, where maybe not the entire section of the West Coast, but maybe Oregon or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, there is. Downstairs, and I wish I'd been cognizant of what we were going to talk about, because I've got the movie downstairs. It's also on YouTube. There's a movie called 10.0.
Ooh.
Okay, it was filmed in California. Okay, a 10.0. The whole theory behind this movie was an earthquake on the San Andreas Fault that was triggered up and down the entire length of California. The way they stopped it, in theory, in the movie, they drilled down into the fault zone, all up and down the coast of California. They drilled down into the San Andreas Fault. And my microphone just came down again. Okay, anyway, they drilled down in the fault and they put nuke bombs down inside these drill holes. And they thought if we put these bombs down there and detonate them far enough underground, we might be able to stop this quake before it tears apart the entire state. And they thought they had. And you guys can pull this movie up on YouTube. You can buy it online. I'm sure Amazon has it. It's called 10.0. They set off nuclear bombs up and down the San Andreas Fault to stop the fault from going down. This is what's going to happen when the earthquake happens up off the coast of Washington. It's going to ignite the entire West Coast, and the earthquake is going to continue. Los Angeles, San Diego, down into Mexico is going to shake. Big time shake. Okay? All because of the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. It's going to shake. And again, the earthquake's going to last upwards of 10 to 15 minutes.
Straight, constant.
Right. Yes, constant shaking. Now, on top of that, if the earthquake doesn't kill you,
It only makes you stronger? No, I'm just kidding. Keep going.
yeah, really. If the earthquake doesn't kill you or hurt you, we have a tsunami wave.
Oh,
And it's proven. We can prove it through history that this happened. The Japanese people had a tsunami that came from the last Cascadia megathrust earthquake. It went all the way across the Pacific to Japan.
wow.
Those people kept good records. Not only that, not only did it go across, but that same tsunami wave is going to go towards Alaska as well, and up and down the entire coast of Washington, Oregon, California, and Mexico. Within 15 or 20 minutes after the earth stops shaking, you're going to see water going off the beaches away from the coast. That will be your first sign that there's going to be a tsunami.
Is that too late
And-
once you see that?
What's that?
Is it too late once you see that, where you see the water
Yeah.
being sucked away? It's already too late.
Unless you've got a four-wheel drive vehicle, a motorcycle, or something that's going to get you around fissures that open up in the ground, around bridges that go down.
Wow.
Okay, it's going to flood miles inland. That water is going to go out to sea, and then there's going to be a tsunami that hits about 15 or 20 minutes after the earthquake. And that wall of water is going to be anywhere from 50 to 150 feet deep. And it's not just going to be one wave. There will be multiple tsunamis waves that come in to the coast. I'm probably knocking my microphone down. Multiple waves coming in off the ocean. And it's going to continue to flood further and further inland as every wave crashes to shore. Okay, and that water is going to go. It's going to go everywhere. You all have seen buildings where you live. If you live in a major city, you see these tall buildings. And you know what happens when a great deal of wind starts whipping through between the buildings. As the wind comes through those roadways, through between the buildings, it increases in speed. So this is what's going to happen with that tsunami wave as well. The water is going to come in under a huge amount of pressure, a speed. The water is going to come in under speed already. And as it goes through those narrower areas, it's going to increase in speed, which is going to force even more water out in front of it.
Oh, wow.
It's going to go further out. Now it's going to go through valleys. Yes, we have hills outside of Seattle. We have hills outside of Spokane. That water is going to continue, and it's going to be worse in areas where we have creeks and rivers. The water is going to get in those rivers and create all sorts of havoc. Those areas are going to be devastated, literally. If you don't get killed or hurt by that earthquake, look out for that tsunami wave. Now, there was another movie, I'm going to tell you about this, another movie, and then another one after that called Los Angeles Earthquake, the Great Los Angeles Earthquake, with a cast of hundreds of awesome, well-known actors and actresses. Great movie, okay? But there was another movie before that called Contact, okay?
I think I saw that.
Yes, you did.
Brian Dennehy?
What was her name? Famous blonde actress.
Steve Guttenberg and Brian Dennehy, is that the one?
Yeah.
Contact?
Okay. Great movie. Okay. They
Or is that
theorized that this asteroid hit out in the Atlantic Ocean and caused another tsunami wave. Okay. And the lady, I don't remember the lady's name, blonde, famous actress that John Hinckley was going to take out in New York after he shot President Reagan. He was fascinated with her and trying to get her attention.
Oh,
Anyway,
Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster.
Yeah, Jodie Foster. Her father in the movie, she had an opportunity to get on a news helicopter and get away from the wave. Went up to the top of a building to get away from the wave, and she thought about it. She goes, "No, I have a father who's alive." She hadn't had a good relationship with her father. And they made up during the movie. As of course, there's a plot Okay. She and her father made up at the movie, and they stood on this beach and watched that tidal wave come in.
Oh,
And
together I
one of
saw
the
that.
words, one of the phrases that she said, "Oh my God, Daddy, oh my God." And she was holding on to her father for dear life, knowing that wave was going to engulf them in a matter of minutes.
Is that the
They-
one? Was that the one with Morgan Freeman?
Yes.
I know it's
Yeah.
that was
He was president of the United States.
Impact, right? Yes. Okay, I remember
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, you're right. They're hugging on the beach as the wave that's like a mile and a half high. I saw a great video the other day. This was crazy. There was these boaters out. I don't even know. It must have been in Singapore or something, or when that Sangha, whatever, the one from last week or 2 weeks ago. So
The
there's
Hunga
Hunga
Hapai
Sangha. Yeah.
volcano.
Yeah, exactly. Two things on
Right,
that
say
actually.
that fast 10 times.
Yeah, exactly. So two things I want to share about that. So I saw this video of like maybe 8 or 9 boats, and they're filming with their phones, and they're watching the tsunami wave, and their boats kind of go up as it comes over them, and they're seeing it go towards Sangalangapangapuga. And that was one thing. But the other thing that I was going to ask you, now you got me messed up with the Sangatonga. I'll remember what it is anyway. But that was crazy.
The wave came in and swamped their boats, swamped them, and they're lucky they didn't get killed.
Yeah, because there was a couple of them were like this, cockeyed.
Yeah.
You're right when it came over.
Yeah, they're lucky they didn't die. There was only one woman who was swept out to sea from Britain. She was swept out to sea. Her and her husband had been visiting Tonga and had 3 dogs. Only one of the dogs and her husband survived. The other 2 dogs and the wife were swept out to sea, and I don't think they've found the body yet. But that happens. And that's going to happen when these tsunami waves, hit the shore of the west coast of the United States. Now, there's one more movie, like I said, The Great Los Angeles Earthquake, with a cast of hundreds. Great movie. Awesome movie. I've got a copy of that downstairs, too. I should have brought it up here. And I say this is what you can watch and see it on YouTube. Yeah. Great movie based on fact. Okay. One of the actresses, and she played the chief of seismology for USGS in Los Angeles. And her boss was in Washington. And she had come up with this theory of what was going to happen in Los Angeles as she saw the earth move and smaller quakes and tremors happening. The whole start of that movie was down in the Salton Sea area in Imperial Valley, east of San Diego. Okay, the start of that movie showed a USGS Jeep, an outfitted Jeep, driving out in the Imperial Valley of California down there, right beside the Salton Sea, to a place called Bombay Beach. And I've shown you guys seismograms of Bombay Beach. And we have earthquakes that are hitting Bombay Beach area of 3.0, 3.5 right now. Why? Because it's right on top of the San Andreas Fault down there in the Imperial Valley. The premise of the movie, the reason that seismologist was shown going into a shack, looking at the seismograph that was there, and he took out a laser and shot it across the Salton Sea over to the Chocolate Mountains to a reflector on the mountain. And he saw via the reflection from the laser the movement of the fault. He measured that, and he called the USGS office in Los Angeles and said, look, the San Andreas Fault moved this and this and this. Okay, that was the whole start of the movie. So the San Andreas Fault moving down in Imperial Valley, California, was a signal that a larger quake was going to hit Los Angeles. And this woman, the head of USGS in LA, knew it. And she had an extensive background in forecasting earthquakes and trying to find out the cause and effect. And her husband in the movie was a landscape artist, a landscape company he and his friend owned. And he did work for the city of Los Angeles and various other high-ranking politicians in LA. and they based it on her family getting shaken up with this earthquake and forecasting the coming earthquake. She forecasted. She went to the city of Los Angeles officials and said, now look, between this date and this date, we're going to have a huge earthquake, a very major earthquake in Los Angeles. And the city officials were going, ah, you're full of crap. You've been forecasting smaller quakes and none of them happened. And now you're trying to tell us we're going to have a major earthquake. Yeah, right. The mayor of Los Angeles laughed at her. The city manager laughed at her. The emergency preparedness director for OEM, Office of Emergency Management, remember me telling you about that? They called me in Salt Lake and asked me and sent me a plane, told me I had a ticket to get on a plane to go from Salt Lake to LA after that earthquake back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? The Office of Emergency Management is down in the basement of the huge city building where the police department and everybody else has headquarters. Okay, that's where it is. And you guys watching that movie, The Great Los Angeles Earthquake, you'll see pictures of the Office of Emergency Management in Los Angeles. Realistic. And yes, some of it is staged, okay? Some of it is staged, but it's very realistic. And the whole premise of that movie was the forecasting of the Great Los Angeles Earthquake, a 10.0 earthquake in Los Angeles. And guess what? In the movie, it happened. Schools fell down. People and students trapped. Major buildings fall down, including that great big huge city building that I just described. Came down during that earthquake and it killed people.
It's safe to say that
was terrorized.
It's safe to say that even a Hollywood glamorization of that event would pale in comparison to an actual 10.0.
Yeah.
To the actual effects of something like that. It's like they do their best, but even it's like probably a tenth of what you'd actually see in a real world situation. People are actually out there dealing with, one thing that scares me most is, especially about this preparing, is the idea that electricity is so ingrained into our lives. We can't live without it. And we all, as a society, can't survive more than a day or two without it. And we'd probably, they say 90% of the population would die off in a month or two if we had an EMP from Russia or from China. And it's scary because as a kid, I remember already saying, I can't go out in the field and go and kill something. I don't like to kill things. Like I can write music and I can say funny things, but I can't go kill things. I can't go do the things that, people were born going out in the field and they did. And it's just, that's me. Now I have my kids who are even further removed from that. And it reminds me of an old saying that, hard times make soft people. Have you heard of something like that? Hard times make easy times, or easy times make soft people. Soft times people make hard times make. And it's this whole cycle, and we're right in the middle of going back to the hard times again because we're all so cushy and everybody's so sensitive, and this whole idea that nobody has a thick skin anymore. We're there. It's a scary time because the other shoe can fall at any time. Nobody knows how to take care of themselves. This world can literally go into the Stone Ages in a minute. And I think that's why it's important to be prepared. And I say, you guys, like you, Wages, and when you guys are out there sharing detail in order to provide a safety valve for people to be prepared for the future, I always say, like, that is amazing. Everybody needs that. And then what we do here is to try to prepare the soul for that day. It's like if you live in positive light and you create and get away from that negativity, I think you're preparing yourself for that inevitability, because, if you're weighed down by all the negativity in this world and that day comes, I'm sorry. I don't care how much you say you believe in Jesus or anything. You can't get there. You need to be at a higher vibration when that day comes. It's not about saying, well, I went to church. No, I'm sorry. You need to be living there, light. You need to be feeling it inside when that day comes. And this is what we strive for here, is to live in the light. Let's do something positive, And that's actually, I think that's what bridges us as brothers. If you think about it, is, you know, you have a mission to help people find the best way to stay safe, and also to be prepared with the information you can't get anywhere else. You know, information you provide is impossible to find unless you do the research, which you're doing, and then you're sharing with everybody. This is like, you do it because it makes you feel better. Nobody realizes why we do these things. People say, why do you go live? You've been live for 1,128 days in a row. Why? Because when I see someone smile, it made my whole life.
Yeah.
Makes my whole life.
There's sometimes you go on the air, I'm still on the air until I finish my program, and I instantly switch over to your program and watch it. But I miss great parts of your program. But why do I do that? Why do I switch to see Mark Pires? Because there's so much crap out here in this world. There's so much stuff that I have to deal with as a scientist. I'm a citizen scientist, okay? I'm nobody special. Yes, I've got a degree, doesn't mean squat anymore, okay? What I learned back in college in the 70s, the late 70s, early 80s, doesn't amount to more than a hill of beans now, because science is an evolving science.
Yeah.
What I learned back then was the start of what I know now. I have not stopped learning. I've constantly been gaining more and more information, doing more and more research, okay? Some people say, well, Ron, you don't have a decent degree. You only got, really? Guess what? That degree doesn't mean squat now.
You're right. It's just something you put on the wall. Yeah, because you're right. If you're not, this is actually brilliant, because everybody holds on to these accomplishments, like what they did when they were 24, 25 years old. What about the other 40, 30, 40, 50 years of your life? You're talking about how you went to Harvard. It's like, okay, what did you do with the rest of your life? You know, I totally get it, especially when it comes to situations where people are specifically using that, like someone who did the work or went to a school has a better understanding of that subject. I've often said everybody who has to read a book in order to get that information is still at a disadvantage of the person who writes the book.
Right.
You know, and there's somebody who wrote that book always. And then everybody was like, it can't be done. It can't be done. Some guy comes along and is like, yeah, it can, writes the book. And then for time, everybody reads it and they're like, oh, now I know how to do it. But that first person was brave enough to go and complete the task and then write the description, you know?
Yeah.
And life is always reaching to do something new and leave it for the next generation. That's what you're doing, EMA, as well as you're leaving something. Look, let's think about how much the world changed. You even said it. You went from a time where you're basically at home. Your father's out on the side of the road for 3 days. You know, he's no way for him to get home. He can walk across and try to make a phone call, but it's freezing. So he's got like he's got a 72-hour bug out bag in the trunk. He's eating food. He's hanging out. You went from that. I'm sure at the time my father talks about an outhouse when he was growing up in Portugal. And so you went from this to today where you're on the internet. We're Zooming from across the, you know, in the country. We're Zooming at night and having a conversation. And you're able to help people prep by being online with them. We used to be able to tune into 5 to 7 channels, then it 15, 30, 100, 200 programs. All of a sudden, forget the TV. We're able to actually put on a show and be the TV. That's impossible 50 years ago to think that this would be where we are right now. We're all able to access this entertainment platform and create, you know, it's amazing.
I use your program to get away from the world.
I love that.
I like I said, we see all this crap out in our world. We got rumors of a major world war coming, and it may happen. Okay. We have a good possibility of the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happening during our lifetime. I don't think it's going to be more than 5 to 10 years from now. Okay. It could be next year, it could be next month. I see all this stuff happen. I see world war. I see floods. I see starvation. I see food not being on shelves. People not getting what they need to survive. I've been warning about this for 3 years. April 3rd, it'll be 3 years. I've been talking about it. 2 years ago, 2 years ago, we saw the United States flooded. 9 states here in the United States flooded over. Farmers not able to plant crops. If they had planted crops, they were flooded over, could not harvest crops. Their crops were gone. Ranchers that were raising cattle and sheep and goats and pigs and chickens and ducks, their ranches flooded out. Animals died. I told people about this. I showed them, and I had people, that women and men, calling me on the phone, coming over to my channel saying, "Oh, you're forecasting gloom and doom." No, I'm telling you what is going on now. We're going to have a time period this next fall when there's going to be less food on the shelves. And that's exactly what happened that fall, 2019. Then what happened last year? We had a pandemic that hit the United States. More farmers didn't go out in their fields to plant. More farmers were not able to recover from 2019, from the floods. So we didn't have that much meat. And then, so we had less food on our shelves last year, and we were locked down, farmers included. Okay. So we had less food on the shelves. That's where it started, really started. Then this year, look what's already happened here in 2021. Or not 2021, 2022 now. Okay. We've seen this go on and on and on. Okay. Less and less food on the shelves. Some stores don't have meat on the shelves. They don't. Even the Walmart down the street and this other store like Safeway that's down the street, it's called Food Lion. Some of their meat products is not out because there's no meat available. Okay. And we have ships off the coast, west coast of the United States, that are off, big, huge container ships that can't offload their goods. It's all political.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's creating more and more need for more and more goods that we don't have. And that's contributing to the hysteria that we're seeing now. And it's going to get worse. I'm asking people, I'm not going to say I'm begging you. I'm asking you, you need to prepare. I'm not talking about hoarding goods to yourself and your family. I'm talking about get a little here and get a little here extra, here and there, putting it away. I don't want to see, and this is still happening today. If you go into Costco or Sam's Club or Walmart, some of these other stores, I still see paper goods, toilet paper, empty. Great big, huge open shelves, empty, because people are hoarding it. Why are they buying all this toilet paper? What good is a bunch of toilet paper going to do for you? Do you have food in your pantry in your house? Do you have food hidden underneath your beds or other places to store it in case you might need it? I get people telling me, "Oh, Ron, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I don't have any place to store food." I keep telling people, yes, you do. You can make small tables out of your food. Throw a little round or a square or rectangle piece of wood on top of it and have it as a lamp end table in your front room. And underneath it is your food. Nobody needs to know what's underneath that cloth that covers the food up. You can put food storage behind your sofa, behind your couches, behind chairs. You can hide it in a lot of different places. And nobody needs to know what you got. Don't tell everybody what you got.
That's a good point, right?
Well,
I got a guy who does our lawn is a real character. He's a hunter, and he's always going out to hunt freaking moose. He's like, I just went to Canada to freaking get a moose. He's like, check this out. He's like there with the massive antlers, And so he's one of those guys who just really, really gets into to being a man and killing and skinning and all that stuff. I'm like, holy cow. But this is just, it's a reality that first of all, that there is a way of surviving, but he says he has so much food because he kills venison and he kills he's like, I don't let anybody know what I have. He said, because not if, but when it does all come down, he's like, I don't want anybody coming to my house asking for food or whatever. He's got guns. He's like, I don't want anybody coming near my house. It's my food. I have it. He salts it. He's like, it's there for, you got jerky. He's like, worst case scenario, I'm good. You know, he's like, but I don't have any for anybody else. And he's like, you know, you got to prepare because people will start coming to your house looking. You got to get a gun. And I have a hard time pulling that trigger. And when he was the guy I spoke to, and he said, if you can't see yourself ever pulling the trigger, don't get a gun. He said, you don't want to be the guy who then they take the gun from you and you're in the news the next day. You know, either try to get them to not kill you or you find another way. But if you can't pull that trigger, don't get a gun, you know? So I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've told cops this, okay? If you're a cop and you're afraid of shooting that gun, you better run. You better get out of law enforcement and run down the road to do something else.
Yeah.
If you're not afraid to pull that trigger to protect yourself or someone else, you need to get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
You're going to get killed. The bad guy's going to take your gun and use it on you.
Absolutely.
I tell people that all the time. If you can't pull that trigger, don't. Run away from it. Find some other way to protect yourself because they're going to come in and take it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, this is just a side note, but you're nailing the reality of 2021. I just put on the newest album I released, the Kyle Rittenhouse song I wrote last year.
I love it. I love it.
The line blows my mind. If you go for the gun, you get the gun. That's perfect, you know, but like you just nailed it. You know, these guys were not coming to take his gun away and be like, okay, go run away, buddy. They were going to shoot him and kill him. And then now they've got an AK they can go out and kill more people with. I think one of them was a pedophile. I mean, at the end of the day, the idea that the mainstream fake news National Enquirer media can continue to gaslight this country, and the people out there are so stupid that they believe any of it at this point, baffles me. Just baffled, you know? What do you think? What do you think, buddy?
I shake my head so much, Mark. I really do. I talk with you and Wages, and I get clearer heads because Wages studies the sun and brings us all that wonderful information, and you entertain us to get rid of all the crap that we've been dealing with all day long, all week long, and it's such a weight off my shoulders. I download your music, I keep your programs because I want to be entertained. I want to hear, yes, you're covering news items now, and I think that's awesome, okay? But you've got a different way of delivering it. You're like this mild-mannered Walter Cronkite with a sense of humor, and it's fun. It's fun to watch you.
Oh, thank you so much. It
relieves the pressure. Your music is an escape from me. It's an escape from everyone. I'm able to sit back and giggle and have a good time, or lay in my bed and watch you on my phone, or put the phone down on my nightstand in the bedroom, and I can sit and watch you and listen to you, and I have a blast. Mark, you don't even know how many times I sat there and belly laughed at some of your comedy.
It makes me so happy.
Crap.
That
It's
makes
hilarious.
me so happy. Thank you
And
so much.
Super Mark.
Super.
Bat Mark. I just and then then your weather guy. I love it.
Dr. Wayne Doppler. Oh, you mean with Wayne Doppler,
When I hear
Hammerlin?
you doing Dr. Wayne Doppler, I am rolling. There's a guy, I don't know whether you remember him or not. He was the person that started the Weather Channel. And yes.
I saw him recently on Fox, right? Or he was on CNN.
No, he died now. He died a few years ago.
Okay.
But he was on a San Diego station that was broadcast all over the country. His forecasts literally were broadcast all over the country from a private private television station. It was called KUSI. They were not affiliated with any network. They broadcast Fox, they broadcast CBS, NBC. All these stories came into KUSI, and he broadcast the weather for the United States, San Diego, everywhere. He was a character. He was hilarious. And Mr. Coleman, I've never been able to say his first name because I looked up to him. When I knew him in San Diego, he used to tell me, Ron, just call me by my name. And I said, I can't. I have such honor and respect for you. I call you Mr. Coleman. That's the only thing I know. Because this guy was higher than, he's like God to me. He and God stood on the same elevation. Him and Jesus Christ and God stood up here. That's how much I respected him. But he used to come on the KUSI weather, and he'd come out on the set. This is no joke. This is what kind of reminds me of you. He comes out animated onto this weather set, and he sometimes did the late night Johnny Carson kind of show. But he came out to do the weather with the golf club sometimes in his head. And he goes, here's the KUSI weather. You know, he was hilarious. And he'd bring comedy into the weather. And he'd
Brilliant.
make it fun.
That's
To
great.
study, to listen to him. And he was right on. He was spot on with the weather. And when he died, I was sitting here in Utah. Or I'm not in Utah anymore. I'm in North Carolina. Woo, right down the road from you. But, 1,400 miles away.
Yeah,
Say,
not
"Hey,
too far
Mark."
away.
But I
Straight
used to
down
watch
south.
him. But in a way, he reminded me of you, because you can deliver the news, and you've done it here. Lately, you've done a great job delivering the trash, telling people a little bit of humor mixed in with it, but you're giving people what they need. They need a break from everything else. I can laugh. I can belly laugh. Some of your stuff, I've even had tears coming out of my eyes because I'm laughing so hard. Sometimes it's really serious, and I know it's serious. But quite often, you give me, the guy that deals with earthquakes and volcanoes and tornadoes and floods and hurricanes and all this stuff that I deal with every day. And some people don't realize, oh, you come on the air 2 or 3 hours, that's all you do, and then you're gone for the rest of the day. No, this job is, and people contribute to my program, and they don't understand how much it means. Because my little bitty pittance that I get in retirement is not anything necessary to take care of the bills that go along with what I am doing. I have to have the software. I have to have the computer. I have to have a high intelligent bandwidth that I have to get from the cable companies and stuff. I have to have all this stuff, and it costs money. Nobody realizes it. It takes money to do your program. It takes money to do what I do. It takes money to do what Wages does. It takes time.
Absolutely.
And I honor those people that help support my program, help support you, help support other people. We couldn't do it if it wasn't for the people that cared about us.
So true.
Our viewers and everybody. You guys are family. All of you are family. Mark, even though you don't come on my program very often, I would love to have you on the program more, even to break up the garbage I have to talk about.
I'll be on any time. You just tell.
Oh, yeah, we'll do
I'll
it.
be on his
We'll
Dr.
do
Wayne
it.
Doppler. I'll come in his Doppler or his Hammerlin.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a kick? That would be so cool. But it helps me.
Well,
It helps
thank
me
you.
get away. Sometimes I will have recorded your program, or sometimes if I didn't, I'll go back on YouTube, and while I'm working, I'll have you on my other computer playing, and I'm dying over it. I'm researching stuff on this computer, and on this computer, I'm dying. I'm having one heck of a great time.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, buddy. That means a lot to hear you say that.
It's crazy. And I've had friends of mine here. I don't have that many people that know me here where I live now, but I have some friends that have been here, and they can't get enough of you.
Oh, that means so much.
They're
You-
watching you too now. So
It's so funny because I often say, so I've been here for 3 years in a row every day, and now we're into the year 4, and I've never heard anybody laugh. I've
Oh,
never
yeah.
heard anybody, if anybody laughs, I have no idea because I'm here alone. It's like,
Yeah.
it's so crazy that we just keep creating all these nutty comedies. And I'm like, I don't even know if I think they're funny, but I don't know if they're funny because I've never heard one person laugh in 1,128 days in a row. It's crazy, you know?
you have a guy named Sage Club.
Yes,
He's-
Sage rocks.
He's one of my moderators on my program. He's on yours. He's great.
Love
And
Sage.
I know for a fact he's laughing.
Robert's great.
He's watching us now and he's belly laughing. I know him. It's hilarious. It's funnier than all get out. It's awesome. And if it wasn't for you, and and yes, I love jazz music, all kinds of music. The only thing I don't like is rap. And some of your routines are hilarious.
Yeah, I get there's some a little
God,
bit.
they're hilarious. But I think of you as my best friend, my brother, truly.
I love you, buddy.
Brother by a different mother. I honestly feel that. I look to you and I laugh. We've talked on the phone several times. I just can't get enough of it. I eat it up.
You're
I
amazing.
have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yes, like I said, I love jazz, cool jazz, FM 94, whatever it is,
FM
I love it.
94.
Classical rock and roll.
Oh yeah. You know what? There's and with music too, what I love is that there's so many different, genres, and because we don't have anything I mean, there's never been a song planned. It's all in the moment. So the genres are freaking all over the place. It's like,
Yeah.
who knows it's going to be today? And then all of a sudden we have a new song, like the Twilight Zone song. I'm going to play that for everybody when we finish up. That song is blowing
Yeah.
my mind right now.
I love it.
I had to come up with a
love
new,
it.
new album. Oh, brother.
Man, it's fun. It's a kick.
Oh, thank
It
you so
really
much.
is.
I really have a ball. And this new concept of having you on and Wages and anybody else who's creators or business owners, entrepreneurs. I just thought, like, because we're doing so much here, one more thing that I have missed is the idea of having a conversation, getting to the depths of just humanity again, And I'm here like without a script every day. I constantly have to do something because there's never an idea of what it's going to be. So the idea of being able to step back for a second, and even like this is great. You were chatting. I actually got to take a break because you were talking and you were doing the work, So the interviewing thing is a very nice concept. And like I said, to me, it could be a 5-minute, 15-minute, or we can hang out all night. But the idea is I want to do it every day. So we have music, comedy, we have inspiration, we have the news, and then we have an interview. So it's 5 things every day. And we just don't know what it's going to be in wet,
That'd be awesome.
Well,
What I do, you talk about a script. I've got this notebook, and now I have 3 notebooks. 3 notebooks over the years. Every day that I'm on the air, I write down stuff that I need to cover. I make notes. I don't write it down and read it. I never do that. But I have notes to refer to right beside me of subjects that I want to cover. And off to the side, you guys see me talking to you and explaining stuff to you. But as I am talking to you, I am either running a line through one of my notes or checking off, okay, I've talked about this now. In my mind, I know what I need to talk about, but I want to make sure that I cover everything.
that's nice. You have a list. At least so you're not scripted, but you at least know you're going to cover these 10 topics. Where now I'm sort of doing like, you know what? I pick 7 stories every day. So now I don't know what I'm going to say. I have a topic. And like you said, I almost think about the new concept of the news as comedy news. And it's almost like when SNL used to be funny and like Norm Macdonald was on doing the weekend update, but it's every day of the week. And because I don't have any idea what I'm going to say, it's a live cold read. And is it going to be Christopher Walken or Donald Trump, or who's going to be doing or is it just going to be me doing some animated version of it? And you know what? Because you do this too, when I have to read something, I like reading in real time because what I'm doing is I'm actually reading 2 or 3 words ahead. and allowing my improvisation to take over, because now I'm able to read it as if I'm acting it. And that's why it seems very fluid, like, oh, he must have read this before. But no, I'm just reading 3 words ahead, and I'm acting through those. It's a weird way of pushing myself through, almost the way I write music, where I'm hearing the words I'm going to sing right this second. I already heard 3 seconds before, and I'm finally getting to it. You know what I mean? But it's all in the moment, and it's just crazy. And I think if you could allow yourself to fail with a smile. That's the way I look at this, is I will go every day and try to fail in order to entertain this world. And if it fails, who cares? At least I gave it a freaking shot. You know what I mean? And that's where we are at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And just to tell you guys, all of you here that are watching, hundreds, thousands, 10, 15 people, whatever, doesn't matter. The thing is, I started this. I started my program when there was one other earthquake guy on, and he was telling his people in his chat, that he wasn't going to do it any longer. And he rarely comes on the air now. But he started that. And I begged him on his chat, don't stop. Everyone needs what you're saying. And he didn't care. And now it's me, most of it. Most of the people that watch are watching me because he basically stopped. Somebody had to carry it on. And I had friends of mine that used to watch the other guy. I'm not even going to mention his name. They used to watch him, and they encouraged me to come on and do my program. People around me that used to live near me in Utah when I lived there, they were telling me, Ron, do it. Give it a shot. The worst thing you can do is fall on your face. The best thing that you can do is to help people. Give it a shot. And from that point on, it was April 3rd, 3 years ago.
3 years ago you started?
Yeah, April 3rd, 3 years ago.
Wow.
Well, I'll be on the air 3 years, April 3rd. I started then, and I didn't have but a small laptop computer. And I started making notes. I researched it all day freaking long. I had my notes, and they were sometimes 3 or 4 pages worth of notes. Now I have 1 page. I make sure one day, 1 page, and I have notes. I don't write everything down. I'm not scripted. If I've got any script that I read, I pull up an article or a news broadcast that I can read right in front of me.
Yeah.
That way I can look at the camera and read the script. And I don't often do that, but sometimes I do. I will admit that. And I even give the person that wrote that script, that article, credit. But I'm trying to give everyone the information that they need. And I work all day long putting it together. And back then I had a 1 laptop computer. Now I have 2. I have books right beside me. I've got more books over here behind me, off to the side of me. I got books underneath my desk. I got books in drawers. You know, I've got all sorts of stuff that I pull out because I've gathered the information and I have it at my fingertips. And you do the same thing. You research the things that you're going to talk about. You've got notes too, and you improvise. That's important. You have that ability. Just like my friend, Mr. Coleman. He didn't have a script. Some news guys, some reporters in stations and weather people, they have a teleprompter off to the side that they can read what they need to say.
Yeah.
Mr. Coleman didn't.
Well, because
He had it up there.
yeah, I want to also be honest. I used to love reading a script. Like if you give me a script, I love, like you can tell I'm reading news stories. I love, I'm having so much fun doing it. But I also love when I literally just do this. And I turn that song on, and then my show does 2.5 hours. And we're like, what the freak just happened? I wrote 3 songs and a new comedy. Like the other day we did this Blizzard, Channel 7 Blizzard. That was the craziest thing. And I can't wait to drop that. That'll be sometime this week. But there was also something that came out of it at the end where I did a Sam Kinison impression, and I hadn't done Sam Kinison in about 15 years. and I can't believe how good the Sam Kinison impression is. Like, I scream all the time, kind of like that, but I really went after it. And then I started realizing I was hitting it, and I did it for like 10 seconds. And I was like, no, what are you doing? It was like totally crazy. I gotta cut that still and drop it as a short. But the reality is when you are forcing yourself to move, like I have one grand like thought in my mind always is I don't want to look back one day with regret. I don't want to look back and say I could have done one more day. I could have created one more piece of comedy, one more song for this world. I could have said one more inspiring word. Instead, I'm doing it. So when I look back one day, I say it's all there for a future generation. If it, this is literally my 4th year. It's interesting to me because now I didn't realize I'd been doing this longer than you. So I've been out here for going on my 4th year in a row live every single day. And, I think my issue a lot of times is not issue, but the reality is because we're not talking about, a lot of times we're not talking about anything that has to do with the topics of the world. It's like positivity, writing songs and comedy. And like people have to want to get away from the negativity. They have to want to get away from those topics and from the streamers that are talking about the news of the day. And that has, I think, probably been the challenge with a guy who wants to see the world smile. And they're like, well, maybe I just want to get that news, that negativity again today. But it weighs me down. That's why I started this show. It weighs me down, all that negativity. I mean, I'm an empath, so I feel it all. And the only way I could stay balanced is by showing up every day and letting every single thing out of me.
Yeah.
That's
I'm an empath too. I've been told that. I don't believe it sometimes because I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I embody everything that's going on around me. It's part of me, and I feel it. Sometimes I'm weighed down. And when I first saw you, I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy helps lift that crap off of me. And I've actually felt a huge weight come off my shoulders, off my body, out my head. It's amazing what you have done, not just for me, but I'm saying hundreds of people have felt that. I know because you do that comedy. You give us a break. You give us music that sometimes nobody else has heard. And they won't hear it from anywhere else. You are that good. And
thank you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm talking to your face right now. I'm talking to everybody else that may be watching and listening to us. But I think that everybody feels the same way. I can't help but feel that because it's part of me. It lifts me up. I sometimes, when I know I'm ending my show and you're already on the air, I think in the back of my head, I can't wait to get off here. I need Mark Pires. I need my buddy Mark. I can't wait. And yes, nobody knows that. Nobody knows what's going on in the back of my head, except you guys that are watching me now. But sometimes I can't wait to listen to Mark. I know that I'll get a good laugh. I'll have some music to listen to, and I'll be able to relax. And that's the way it is. This day.
That's the way it is.
This day, Monday, January 31st.
Cronkite.
For Emergency Management Associates, this is Walter Cronkite.
Ron Tyler. I love that. Cronkite almost has a Nixon sound too. I'm thinking about it. It's like Nixon could have played Cronkite.
Yeah. I used to do improvisation, imitating people, politicians and a bunch of other people. I used to be able to imitate Billy Graham, and I won't imitate Billy Graham anymore. I have so much love and respect for the man. I can't do it anymore. But I imitated him visiting Richard Nixon one time. I did a whole skit on Billy Graham visiting Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon, he was president of the United States 4 more years. But he used to visit Richard Nixon. And yes, Billy Graham visited a lot of presidents. He was a chaplain for the White House. He was there for the presidents. He was all the time. But in this particular skit, Billy Graham visited Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon would tell Billy Graham, well, Billy, you have that wonderful fine suit. Where did you get it? And I'm not going to imitate Billy Graham, but he basically said, it fell from the skyeth and I putteth it on, and it fitteth me perfectly. You know, Richard Nixon, Henry Kissinger. If any of you have listened to Henry Kissinger, he had this low guttural talk down here, and he went into his throat. And anyway, I haven't imitated Henry Kissinger for a very, very, very long time. 15, 20 years ago. I did a whole thing about Henry Kissinger. Hilarious. Rich Little did
Rich
Richard
Little was
Nixon
great.
really well.
Yeah, Rich Little was great. He really was
And
great.
I pulled some of my skits from some of the stuff Rich Little did. Like Rich Little did a skit about Richard Nixon in grade school. He was a chalkboard monitor. Little Dicky, he was a chalkboard monitor, or he was a milk monitor, or he passed out the milk cartons, because that's what they did back in the day. In school, they used to pass around these little things of milk.
I remember
that you could
those.
drink out of when you were in school. I remember that when I was a kid.
Well, can I ask a
Little
question
kid.
about that? Why were there only like a couple of chocolate every day? And I never got a chocolate.
Yeah.
I never got a
Yeah.
chocolate milk, but I always saw a couple every day. And I'm like, why am I getting a regular stupid whole milk? I don't want whole milk. I want a chocolate milk. Never
Yeah,
got it. Never got it
exactly.
wrong. They didn't give me the chocolate milk.
Well, when I was growing up in Idaho, in this town called Pocatello, Idaho, southeastern Idaho, it was funny. It was a tiny town just similar to what Poway, California was. Back in the day, Pocatello had been a railroad hub going back and forth between Idaho Falls and Salt Lake City. My grandfather, my dad's father, worked as a blacksmith for the Union Pacific in Pocatello. That's where he raised his family. That's where my dad grew up. We lived there too when I was a kid. And I saw the railroad yard that my grandfather used to work in. And I frequently in the back of my mind remember that and bring it up, how hard life was back in the day. For me, being a kid in that tiny town, Pocatello wasn't really tiny either. It was growing by leaps and bounds, and now it's a huge city. But back in the day, it was maybe 20, 25,000 people. But I remember literally my school, grade school that I went to, was right down the street, literally from the dairy. And we took field trips to the dairy and had that chocolate milk.
Ooh.
That was in the days when they used to deliver milk in bottles, glass bottles to your door. They put it on the
I was
doorstep.
gonna say you had like a little. I remember we used to have like a little. That was when I was like really young. I remember my parents had that for a few years. They deliver the milk inside the little carton or whatever it was.
Yep.
Yeah, things have changed a lot, and a lot of jobs have gone to the wayside, which is what apparently is going to be coming up in the next couple of years with AI. There's so much happening out there. There's so many other topics we could probably get into here, but it is 1:07 in the morning. We did it, my friend. We did it. We did it. I'll tell you what, though. I think this is a first of probably many. We're gonna probably do this more often, especially because this is like an open forum here. But yeah, we got to continue this conversation, and maybe next time we take on some calls. Maybe we'll have some people call in, and we could.
I would love it.
Yeah, we could take some calls together on air.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that little dual call in next time? And you guys can chat with Ron and ask some questions to either of us and see where it goes. I think that would be a fun
That'd be
episode.
awesome.
Maybe we'll try that.
That'd be a riot.
But yeah, so Ron, this is amazing. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate the fact that you keep showing up too for the people, because you're right. You could have very easily done what the other guy did, and you could have said, you know what, I'm just not going to do it any longer. And actually, it's funny that everybody's trying to take down Joe Rogan right now, but I used to listen to Joe Rogan before I started my show, and it wasn't until I was in the car listening to him one day, and he said, look, if you have a voice and you have something you want to say, and you can make someone laugh or you can make someone feel something, go. There's still plenty of room out there for other streamers. And this was maybe 4 years ago. And it was in April, and I remember going home that night and I filmed my first episode, my first podcast, which was Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, like I don't even know. It's so stupid. It was the stupidest thing. Like, I actually still have it. I never released it because it was so bad. But I was like, Donald, what you're doing is that is Vladimir Putin. Like, are you kidding me, Putin? Are you kidding me? And it was like so stupid. And I never released it. But I remember that one conversation he had, and he said, don't not do it. Go and do it. Well, he freaking idiot. He got me started on something 4 years later. No one in the world knows I'm doing it, Ron. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's been fun. I got to say, I've never been more at peace, you know, just because I'm expressing self. But it would be nice, I think, to have people at least when a new album comes out, at least know that there's a new album out there. That would be a cool thing, at least for the world to get it out there.
I love your albums. I love your pieces on the program. I literally every day can't wait to be part of your program. And I sit there. I don't always come in the chat because I don't want to interrupt people going, oh, Ron, it's good to see you. I don't want to do that. I want people to realize that Mark Pyre's hilarious. I want them to pay attention to you. So I sit back and I'm having one heck of a good time watching and listening. It's a blast.
Thank you so much, brother. You're amazing. You are amazing.
Usually I do come on, but it kind of interrupts the chat and they talk to me and I'm going, no, I want everybody to talk in themselves and listen to Mark and watch Mark and have a good time. That's what I want. Because
you're amazing, Ron.
You've had such a calming influence, even though you do some of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. And you ad-lib in such a fantastic manner and improvise. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
You know, I see you and Rich Little. I can see you both, a little bit of both of you. And I see it in you. You've got these characters made. Back in the day, I was also worked part-time and it was nothing but a kick in the pants. I got paid very little for it at a radio station. And the two guys that were at the radio station played music and they did the news. And there was another guy named Big Al, the sportsman's pal, that did the sports. He was a great guy. And Al's still out there. He was doing sports for another radio station. And then I think he's retired now, living out in El Cajon, California. But Big Al was someone like you. He could laugh and carry on with the another sportscaster named Ted Leitner, who was very critical of the sports. When the Padres were winning, it was my Padres. When they were losing, it was your Padres.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with me. I don't know, you know, and he'd criticize them and beat them up. And then he would laugh at them, pat them on the back, praise them when they were winning, and they'd go in the toilet. But you have that same kind of hilarity. It's hilarious. And I look for that.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
I eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's hilarious. I watch your show sometimes all freaking day long.
Oh my goodness, you're a funny guy. You're amazing.
Oh no, I'm crazy.
No, I'm
crazy.
crazy.
I'm crazy.
I'm crazy, but we're crazy together then, my friend. That means a lot. That really does. You know, honestly, it can get frustrating sometimes. I mean, I think you and I had a talk a while back because you were also feeling like there was a bit of a campaign against you. The growth was stopped for a little while, and then it kicked back through. You know, 3 years of that every day and still showing up it's something. I don't know what it is. I think it's insanity, because because realistically, anybody else in the world would have quit a long time ago. They'd be like, okay, I'm obviously not getting through this freaking algorithm, so let me just stop. But I just keep showing up anyway because I think you have two perspectives. You're either like, I'm going to go make a living, I'm going to go make $1 million, or you're like, I'm just going to go and this is a passion project, and I could do this every day for the rest of my life, and it's a passion project in order for me to stay level and sane. And if we could find some sort of like what you said to me tonight made me realize everything I've done for 1,128 days in a row has been worth it, because my intention is always to provide a platform for people to shut off the negativity of this world. And when you said that, I'm like, okay, I'm doing what I'm meant to do, which is to provide that 2-hour window every day where you could turn off the noise and come and live in the light for a little while and experience something happening in the moment. Like, I think the moment is the one thing that exists. Everything else is a lie, it's a distraction. But if we can step away from the distraction and live in this distraction and create something, like really create a moment. And here's the crazy thing. Yeah, I may be the one creating the moment, but you, like you said, being there in that moment, now it's your moment too. Like, I don't think people realize it becomes your moment. When Pamela Swan is here and she hears the song I wrote 9 months ago and she was here the night I wrote it live, that's her song too. And I think that there's power in that. And so I really implore anybody who's here for the first time and you're seeing it, subscribe. I'm here every day of the year, 2 hours every single day. We write songs, we write comedy, and we inspire. And then now we're doing the news and we're interviewing great people like Ron. And I'm not going to give up.
Great. It's wonderful. Don't give up. Don't stop.
I won't.
You've affected more than just me, okay? I came on the air thinking if I can just save but one person, I've done my job. And now I'm hearing I've probably saved a bunch of lives. I'm going, I hope so.
You have,
But
yeah.
I came on the air with the idea if I can just save one person. And you, Mark Pires, you saved Ron. You
Thank you,
saved
brother.
me. You've lifted me up. You know, it's not just your music, it's your overall attitude, your comedy. It's hilarious. Dr. Wayne Doppler here.
Dr. Dopp.
10-foot guy. I'm 10 foot tall. See this telescope over here? The Arecibo telescope? I'm standing there right next to us. Oh gosh. It's so funny.
Guinness, 8'9". He's the tallest man alive.
Dr. Wayne Doppler.
Oh, hey, listen, it's funny. Wages, the whole thing started, I was 19 when I thought of Doppler. I'm driving in the rain in Darien, Connecticut, and I saw the rain bouncing off the ground. And I don't think it's maybe the first time I ever saw it. It was pouring so hard that the water was bouncing back off the ground and way into the sky. And I was like, geez, imagine if, and I don't know why I thought of the Doppler 5000. And I was like, imagine if you were the tallest man alive and your name was Wayne Doppler. And you just got the weather first. Like, that was how it started. And like, you hit the rain hits your head before everybody else because you're the tallest man alive. And so you created, now you're actually a system called the Doppler 5001. And now 20 years later, 25, whatever, Wages says, hey, do you think you could create a character like a space weather character? I was like, I already got it. His name's Dr. Wayne Doppler. He's the tallest man alive. He was like, what? And I was like, dude, I've had this character in my pocket for 30 years, you know? Yeah. So when it happened, my first thought was, oh, I really hope maybe Ron will need like something. Well, like, he's like, look, there's this earthquake just hit. Do you think Dr. Wayne Doppler could come on and talk to us about it? Now, something funny that Wages did for me, and I don't know if you saw this episode, is he wrote down all the terms. Cascadia subduction. And so I took all these terms and I just read them. I literally, Ron, all I did was improvise and read them one by one. It's an 8-minute clip I have to find. It's Dr. Wayne Doppler reading just terminology. And I'm like, well, when you got the, and I'm just doing freaking stupid terminology as
I laugh
Dops.
so hard when you've done that.
Oh,
That's
silly. So
and
silly.
I have that episode someplace in my computer.
I'm going to drop that as shorts. I think I have to drop that one as shorts because it's just me saying emergency management associate stuff without any idea what I'm saying. It's just freaking hilarious.
You know what I would like to do? So I don't know how to do it yet. I haven't figured out how to do that story on Facebook and stuff. Put up a story. I don't know how to transfer your 8-minute stint or whatever over there onto my story thing. I haven't figured that out yet. But somehow, some way, sometime when anybody least expects it, they're going to see Mark Pires coming out with Dr. Wayne Doppler and reading all that. You know, I can see it. I'm gonna do that. Somehow I'm gonna figure out how to do it.
Well, the story thing, it's funny, but YouTube or Facebook used to allow you to do like 30 seconds. Now it's 15 seconds. So basically you could do 15-second clips. And I don't know, Facebook's a weird one. You know, like I notice, I try to follow or like anything I see that you post. I don't know how Facebook works. I feel like if you're very outspoken too on Facebook like I am, but I feel like they keep anybody who's outspoken down unless it's something that's like if you were going after someone. Like if you were going after someone like, let's just pick it, like the Irish National Committee or something like that. And you were like hardcore going after the Irish National Committee, I can guarantee you'll have a couple million views. But if you're not trying to create war with somebody, they don't even give you any attention. It's weird. It's like, it's fear and hatred only online right now. It's very sad because it's the distraction of this world. In fact, when we finish up, guys, don't go anywhere. I'm going to put on You're Living in the Twilight Zone. This is the name, because you got to hear the lyrics of this song. It's ridiculous. It's basically speaking to this topic right here of the world we live in today.
Unreal. That's funny.
Well, brother
You know,
Ron, listen, I love you,
that
bud.
reminds me of something in closing. And I don't want this ever to end. I wish we could talk all night.
I
Anyway.
know. Well, we'll do it again. Like
in
I said, this
closing-
isn't a
In
one-timer.
closing, Ronald Reagan said something on a hot mic. Okay. He had done a news conference and he was standing in front of the microphone at the news conference. And he had ended the news conference. He goes, "That's all, guys. I'm tired. I'm done. I'm going to go have lunch with my wife. And we're done. Have a nice day, everybody." He was the nicest president. Okay.
Yeah.
He had this thing with people that he could get away with almost murder, almost. But he was this nice, congenial guy. But he had a hot mic after his news conference. And his wife, Nancy, was standing off to the side behind him. And he turns around and goes, "Well, Nancy, time to take a nap."
That's hilarious. And by the way, that's a dead-on Reagan. That was a dead-on Reagan.
"Well, Nancy, time to take a nap."
Time to take a nap, Nance. That's
I
hilarious.
loved it. I laughed so hard. And then that night, I was a cop, okay? I went to work. And as we got out of briefing that night, okay, I did my Walter Cronkite imitation, and that's the way it is. Because the sergeant or the captain didn't do the briefing. And I stood up and go, "Man, that's the way it is. Tuesday, November 19th. And then at the end of the shift, I remember walking out of the captain's office one night because he and I were talking. I'm going, "Well, Nancy, time to take a nap." And
That
he
is so
died.
funny.
The captain rolled over. He goes, "Where did you get that?" I go, "Reagan's press conference earlier today."
That is hilarious. Inside jokes. That was like the original Let's Go Brandon. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I have to say the presidents have only gone downhill, I guess, because Reagan was a very personable guy. And I'd say even, you know, if you think about, was it Bush after him, but he was like stick. And then you've got Clinton, who is a scummy guy, but he actually was a very personable guy, extremely, you know, he could schmooze anybody. And then, of course, Obama. Was Obama after? No, then you had another Bush who was terrible, can't speak. And then you got Trump. I mean, Obama comes along for 2 terms, and we're apparently racist again, but we had him in for 2 terms. And he was smooth as can be. I used to say about Obama, like I voted for him the first term, not the second term, because once I saw what he did the first term, I was like, there's no freaking way. But then Romney screwed the. Was it Romney the first time or second time?
He was the first time.
Who was the second time that should?
I don't remember.
He was up against somebody. Should have beat him the
Romney
second
tried
time.
and he dropped out.
Yeah, and then I forget who the second. McCain was the second one, I believe, something like that.
Second one, yeah.
But the thing is, that guy was so smooth. I said, I'd love to have a beer with that guy, but I don't want him to be my president, you know? And like they always say that's the calling card is if you want to have a beer with the president, then he's going to win. Like, yeah, I wanted to have a beer with Obama, but like I didn't see him as a good president, you know, just like this cool dude, smooth cat, you know what I mean? But it's, and then of course you had the Trumper, and they just crapped on him for 4 years because he was doing an effective job of trying to focus on the country. But he had the worst mouth in history, unfortunately. And people can't get past what people say. But now apparently words don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
That's where we are today. Words apparently don't matter in 2022. I see. I did it too. I called it 2021, Ron.
Well, Nancy, that's
Well, Nancy.
I'm done. That's the way it is.
I'll tell you what. I love the Reagan /
4 more
Cronkite.
years. 4 more years. Dick Nixon. 4 more years. I'm not a crook.
Look, my Aunt Judy
Your
told me,
president is not a crook.
if I can make it 4 more years before I have to poop my diaper. That's a sleeper sofa Joe Biden. That's what he's going with these days. We've really gone the most votes in history. This one, the most votes in history, or at least he apparently. Anyway, Ron, I love you, brother. And listen, let's do this again for sure. And like I said, anytime you need the DOPS, I'll throw on the wig. I got the wig. It's right here. The
We
DOPS
need
wig.
the DOPS.
The DOPS wig is all ready to go at any given time. You know? What are we doing? Dr. Wayne Doppler. I think last time I did Doppler, though, he was a Russian. Like, I had to go Russian on him. I felt like he needed to change. You know, like, yes, Dr. Wendopler. So we'll see where he is next. Maybe next time he's going to be from Czechoslovakia or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Brother.
All Americans.
And that's how the cookie crumbles. What does Cronkite say at the end?
That's the way it is.
And that's the way it is.
Monday, January 31st.
That's right.
2022.
Officially.
Emergency Management Associates, Mark Pyres. Have a good night.
Ron, I love you, brother. All right, don't go anywhere, guys. I'm playing you one song at least right now, okay? I know it's already 1:30, but I'm playing you. This is the Twilight Zone song. You need to hear this. Or should I play? Actually, I want to leave this to Ron. Ron, I'm going to tell you the names of the songs I did last night. You tell me which one you want to hear. Okay, so we have 2022 coming for you. We have, wait, hold on a second. Here it is. We have Steamroller, I Got My Cootie Shot.
That's funny. Oh, that's a riot.
We're in the Twilight Zone, or I think that's it. A Racing Time. But Got My Cootie Shot's really upbeat and very, very fun.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Should I play a little bit of each? I think maybe I'll start with I'm gonna play Twilight Zone, and then maybe we'll do I Got My Cootie Shot if you're digging it enough. How about that?
Sure, why not?
Ron, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for kicking it with me.
Thank you, brother. It's fun. Let's do this again soon.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you want. You just let me know. You have the Calendly. Just book a time again. It's all wide open. It's wide open. Oh, buddy.
We'll do that, sir.
There he is. Ron, we love you. Have a great night. Oh, goodness. All right, guys, let me play this for Ron before he pieces out. Oh, okay, Shannon wants to see Cootie Shot. All right, we're going to start with Cootie Shot. Ron, Shannon wants to start with Cootie Shot. We're going to start with that.
Okay.
All right, brother. All right, we'll see you in the chat, my buddy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you.
You rock.
You rock.
That's my brother right there,
God
guys.
bless America.
God bless America. All right, brother, you rock. Oh, man. How awesome was that, guys? My boy, Ron Tyler, kicking it with me. And at the end of the day, there's nothing better than that. So right now, we're going to play you a song. What song? Cootie Shot. Guys, this is like a... Oh, you know what? We're going to do Cootie Shot, but let's do it second because it's a little longer. I want to make sure you guys get at least this vibe first. This right here is... We're in the Twilight Zone. Check this out. I hope you enjoy it.
most of us don't get out okay. No, no. When you push your fear, there's a reaction to that action, yes. And oh, you either cower in the corner or you fight back. Oh, there's one or the other. There's no other. No, it's that. No, are you gonna have a backbone? Yeah. Oh, while I enter the zone, why don't you grab the phone? Yes, I'll wait. In the twilight zone. You're in the twilight zone. Ooh, and when you overpower everyone with a lie, don't make it true. No, oh, shame on you. Oh, but that's the world we live in. These 5 years, I can say, oh, it's not getting better. No, it's only getting worse. So I don't know if we get through it. Okay, let's see if we can come together one day. You're in the twilight zone. You're in the twilight zone. You're in the twilight zone. Oh, there's something there, I swear, yo. You got to give in, you got to let it go. Oh yeah, yeah. You're in the twilight zone. 'Cause if you listen what they say, and if you do what they say, you never know what's true anyway. You're led by a wolf and you're the sheep. I don't know what's better if you go down earlier or later. Oh, being the enemy is never anything anyone wants. But when you're a positivity show and you're the enemy, then you know you're in the friggin' twilight zone. Whoa. Yeah. We're in the twilight zone. You're 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 in the twilight zone. The twilight zone. Well, in the twilight zone. You guys are awesome. You know, it's like, I'll stay up all freaking night. You know what I mean? I got a real estate day tomorrow. By the way, I never really mentioned, but I sell real estate. So if you guys need to buy or sell real estate anywhere in the United States, I can help you. Really anywhere in the world. But if you're in Connecticut or New York, it's easier because I could actually work with you personally. And if not, I will locate someone like me. That's what I'm always looking for, is someone proactive, someone who thinks outside the box, and who's going to do what's necessary in order to get you the best deal possible. Anyway, so Twilight Zone, guys, I decided to call the album You're in the Twilight Zone. And I'm kind of pumped about calling the album You're in the Twilight Zone because I swear we're either in the Twilight Zone or we're in the Truman Show. It's one or the other or the both at the same time. Or I'm dreaming. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Anyway, this one right here is called Racing Time, guys. It's the first song on the album. And I finished this off last night. Like every time I finish one of these songs we wrote here in the moment, I kind of like, I get shivers and I'm letting a little out, but I literally cry a little bit. I was driving today, an hour and a half drive, listening to these 5 songs, and each of them made me tear up. just listening to the lyrics that I never wrote. They came out in the moment, but there's just something in each of these songs that makes me tear up every time I listen. This one right here. Check it. Sunday moving along. The time is right to sing another song. Yeah. Play along, rainbow at the end of a rainy day. We're racing time. Oh. Driving into the night, yeah. You can feel it in your soul, yeah. You can feel it in your heart. Racing time, oh. They can't wait for us to fight. They can't wait to correct us. They can't wait to divide us. They can't wait to inject us. Always racing time. We're racing time. Oh, you're always racing time. We're racing time. You're always racing time. Racing time. You're always racing time. Racing time. You're always racing time. Racing time. It's funny, Jeffrey. I was going to say I didn't want to get into it earlier because, you know, it's not really like the show necessarily, but my occurrence. Okay, it's been a handful of experiences in my life where I've had a chance to, you know, enjoy that thing, you know, and one of them or a couple times had to do with mountains. This is crazy. I've told stories about this Frank Palmer. I used to play with this guy Frank, who was an amazing musician, and he's the first guy who brought me on when I'd only been playing music for 6 months, and he was teaching me, I guess more, he said I taught him how to perform because he was just like recluse, but the dude was ridiculous. His voice was insane and his guitar playing was great. And I was just writing songs, but I still don't know I don't know how to play music. I play, but I don't know what the hell this thing is. I just write a lot, but even then I didn't know anything. He was trying to teach me some things. Anyway, with Frank, I think what I learned from Frank is he's out of his freaking mind. Okay, he buys like a sheet of acid, and I was like, nobody. But one night we're all like, I think it was like with my brother. This is crazy. I had my brother with me, a couple of my best friends in when I was younger, and Frank, and we walked up to Sleeping Giant. Yeah, Ron's talking about Sleeping Giant. I was up on Sleeping Giant doing it. Like middle of the night, like 2, 3 in the morning. Frank used to say this thing that was really odd. He said, I have no fear, take me up. I have no fear, take me up. You know, we started singing it as we were going up the hill. I have no fear, take me up. I have no fear, take me up. And he's singing it. And I'm like, what the freak do you mean I have no fear, take me up, Frank? And Frank was like, he was like, let's go out on that tree limb. And we're like walking up a mountain. It's pitch black. He's like, let's go up out on that tree limb. Frank was out of his freaking mind. I'm like, what, dude? He's like, yeah, I want to go on that tree limb. And so when I said, I have no fear, take me up, I'm like, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, I mean, like, I'm going to go stand on that tree limb and like, I have no fear, take me up. If I fall and die, you know, God, take me up. And I was like, what? I don't think I want to hang out with Frank anymore. What are we talking about? No, so basically the one time or a couple times I've had that experience in my life, but one of them was walked up to freaking Sleeping Giant in the middle of the night and I sang. And there have these little like castles, these little small buildings at the top of Sleeping Giant. And I went up there prior to an event in college and we were all singing. The acoustics were phenomenal there. I specifically remember this out of our friggin' minds at the top of Sleeping Giant. And it was like 2, 3 in the morning, pitch black. That's my one experience. And when Ron brought up Sleeping Giant earlier, I'm like, oh, that's the night. I was like, okay. Crazy. Anyway, so let me share this. This is called, so those are 2 songs so far, guys. We have, I don't even want to tell you what's coming, okay? You still have 2 more goodies. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 5. You had 3 so far, right? Yeah, Steamroller. Check this out. This is, oh, no. This one's 2022. We're coming for you. Check this out. They want to tell you the world's biggest lie. You see, most of the population just goes along for the ride. Just a few people left to stand up and carry on the fight. So you can say what you want. You can say how you feel. I got no problem with that. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot, circle, circle, dot, dot. I have my cootie shot, don't need what you're selling, don't need what you're peddling. I'll just take my chances with the light. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. I got my cootie shot. Circle, circle, dot, dot, zip, I got my cootie shot. third grade, got Rebecca Morrison in the schoolyard. She said, you should better run away, cause I'm gonna give you the cooties. I said, that's okay, can you give me a little circle, circle, dot, I got the cootie shot. She says, come on over here, dear, I'm gonna give you that cootie shot. Now, I give a circle, I give a circle, I give a dot, dot. Now I got the cootie shot. Holy cow, it's crazy. I got the ultimate protection in the future from the CV9. Who knew it? I knew it. When I was in the schoolyard with Rebecca Morrison, she said, I give a circle, circle, dot, dot, the cootie shot. And now you're good for life. You can give me a high five. I'm like, circle, circle, dot, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. Got my cootie shot. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. If you've got your cootie shot and you get a knockaroo on the door, hi, Mr. P. I see that you haven't had your vaxaroo. We're here to administer such a situation. Excuse me, sir. I don't see you can read, I guess, because I put a big sign on the door. I've got my friggin' cootie shot. That's right, circle, circle, dot it. I had a Rebecca Morrison situation. She gave me the cootie shot. And you're trying to come over here and vaxaroo? It conflicts. My cootie shot's good for life. Your vaxaroo is good for 4 days. And then you need another shot. I'm not taking a booster every 4 days. I'm just telling you, not gonna happen, okay? So you could do a vaxaroo. I'm gonna sit here with my cootie shots, what I'll do. Gonna hang out every night here till June. And look, I'm sitting here in September, wondering if we're gonna have a night to remember. And maybe every night we do, it's what we do. Renaissance bands gotta go for the flow, gotta go for it, man. If you don't, you're leading below the pack. You gotta take it to the top, gotta lead it to the cream of the crop. I'm just saying, I'm coming off the top of the mind, off the rhymes. I don't know what the hell I'm saying, but I'm gonna pass this time with you. We gotta get through this crazy negativity that they're throwing at me and you. I'm just saying, right? And if we do it together, we can find a better world, I swear it. And I won't stop forever. We're gonna keep going, ever and ever and never gonna stop. No, cause I got that cootie shot. I got my cootie shot. All right, I gotta cut in on this. This isn't the right version. This isn't the right version. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'll let it play through because this is, I put 2022, there's a song I wrote called We're Coming For You, 2022, We're Coming For You. And I downloaded it wrong and changed the title. That was the original version. It's 14 minutes long of Cootie Shot. Cootie Shot was really like, I think 9 minutes. So it's 5 minutes come off. So we're going to play real Cootie Shot, which is much shorter and it's just as cool, but even better. But let me play you the song I intended to play for you in the first time, which is 2022, We're Coming For You. And this happened on New Year's Eve. I wrote this, on New Year's Day. I think so. Got my reservations too. Take a moment, find yourself in the dark. Find yourself in the bright light before you know it. time. If you wanted to pass you by, or get up and go right now, make your way into the night with fire coming out of your heart, of your soul. I swear that you can find yourself if you go into this new year with me. Oh, 2022 will see you. We're coming. I'm flying through it all. 2022. How good it is to see you after what we lived through. All the lies, all the deception for me and you. They want us going down rabbit holes, never understanding that we're here to come together. Now it's all a card game, yeah. Couple guys above, they're playing with our souls. There's a pot, yeah. Who's gonna win the lot? I don't know if I can hang it anymore, 'cause people ain't using their minds, no. They're listening to all of the cooler talk, yeah. I don't know if I can make it through it if I don't express myself here every night, every day. Renaissance man way. Let it all out into the world. Let it out to the world. Let it out. Let it out. Let it out. You got to let out 2022. We're coming for you, King. Say it. Oh, got a smile on our faces. We're not looking back nowhere. This is the place we want to be. It's all in the light. Opportunities. So let's come together. Let's come together. Oh, oh, oh. 2022. We're coming for you. Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate that. So just so you have an idea, every single song is like that. And for the last 6 months, I've been writing the lyrics at the bottom. But these are moments. Like, there was no song. There was no song, and we wrote it. And I think that night I wrote 3 songs. But we're going to get into right here. This one I thought I was playing for you earlier. This song is pretty crazy. The feel here is... Tell me what vibe this is. I've never heard a song like this. It's a totally different vibe. It's called Steamroller. And I dropped a small piece of it earlier today as a short. Let me know what you think of this. I don't think I've heard any song like this yet that I've done. Here we go. Join us here every night. We're here in the light, writing songs in the moment. And nothing ever going to stop what we're doing. No, 1,069 days in a row. Tomorrow, 1,070. Yeah, you never can be late to your own party. No. Oh, sometimes we need to wake up together. Yeah, we still got time. Yes, that's why we still got time. Yeah. 'Cause the world around us is crazy, out of its mind. Yeah. And you can't have a talk with crazy, no. No, you can't have a conversation with anyone more. If you do, they show you the door. There's 3 to 4 seconds flat. Yeah, they just want you to get out, 'cause they got to get back to drinking Kool-Aid. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Well, yeah, 2021, Christmas can't come any sooner. We need to drop all of this time. They're ruining. They're trying to slow us down. Oh, 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 oh. They're trying to slow us down. Yeah, they don't want us to come getting on. Want us to be divided and go our separate directions. Oh, but if you look, if you search within, you can see the truth is much simpler. Yeah, oh, we're a world filled with love. There's just a lot of hatred trying to break it up. So why don't you just join the show? We're here every day, don't you know? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, there's no way we're gonna stop it. No, the world needs us now. When it needs to establish into own lives. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listening to messages in real time. Yeah, allowing the spirit to speak. Yeah, let all the connecting go on. Bring something to the surface that we know. Gone canceled like all that stuff they're doing every day. You can't cancel me, I'm here to give you love. I know they wanna cancel love, but you can't let them get away with it, no. You can't let them get away from all the love we share. They want to destroy it before you start to care. We're almost there, you just got to follow, 'cause I'm here every day, forever. Oh, we're just getting going, yeah, we can take them down, yeah, you and me. 'Cause I swear when we join, we're more powerful than the sun. The darkness will subside, evil will run, yeah, they're not gonna wait for what's coming. Oh, you had your chance before you steamrolled us all, yeah, there's humanity. Oh, yeah, forced in a corner, yeah, can't get out, gotta try to stop out my way. Oh, if I got to, I do what I got to. don't care as long as I can find my way out the door into the sun. Hey, I'm all alone and swear I'm free. You can't do nothing but let it happen. Get behind it, yeah. Let's take it here, out of there, everywhere. There's got to be a better way. I'll wait. Ooh, guys. So yeah, it's crazy, Jeffrey, but if you go back and check on like all the songs that have been created in the last year, I have stuff like Mandate This, Masked Up, Stop the Hate. This is what this is right here. That's called Stop the Hate. It's fire. And they're all powerful songs, but no one's really seen, not at least when I say no one, I mean, just besides this immediate family, no one's seen them. Maybe my parents, and even them, I don't think they've heard or listened to all 169 songs from this past year. But that's a lot of music, guys. The Beatles did 183 songs in their entire catalog. And in 13 months, I've written and released, and you're hearing the songs. They're all like this, but 169 songs and counting. And I don't believe they're me. I don't believe it's me. I'm connecting to the moment and allowing. That's what I call it. It's allowing. If you have no script and you're just feeling the music and letting the words come out, it's literally live songwriting. You give me a topic and we just try it. And if it works out to be something, we put it on an album. There's been a lot of those. Big Cat Jim, The Numbers Game, called The Murph Dog. They're all songs that started as nothing and created something out of it. But let me play you the Cooties song. You need to hear the full Cooties song. Mama Roo. So this one right here, guys. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Don. I really appreciate it. You know, what's funny is the comedy stuff we do here is pretty crazy too. Like Ron was saying, I didn't talk to her much tonight, but I have a Joanne back here. She's my assistant, and she has a humongocarditis situation. You know, she went in for a bugaboo, and when they went, they were like, "Oh, you look like you used to." No, she's doing okay right now. It was gigantocarditis for a little while. It's downgraded to humongo, so we're doing okay. Yeah, isn't that insane, random? And guess what? This is my goal, and I don't know, last year I accomplished all my goals. The goal was to go live every day, which we started on December 31st, 2018. Long form, not just go live, but to do an hour to 2 every day. We're 3 hours, 33 minutes into this. But every day we do 2 hours for the last 1,100 and plus days, whatever. I'm married. I have 3 kids. I do this when everybody goes to sleep at night. I'm a real estate agent. That's how I make my living. That's how I've made my living this entire time I've been here. So donations that do come from Renee and from Andrew and from Tom and from everybody else who donates to this show mean the world to me, just like Ron said, because that's the only form of income that I've ever seen from this show for this effort that I put out on a daily basis. But I do it because the world is dying. And I refuse to sit aside and allow it to die on my watch. So every day I will show up and I will put fire out into this universe. And I will fight the darkness and the evil and the hatred of this world every day right here with you. And we're 3 hours, 33 minutes in, a little synchronicity in this moment. But when the moments like I got my cootie shot come out, yeah, they're funny, but the lyrics are freaking powerful. I really hope that you guys go back through the playlist and just start tooling around. All the lyrics are like, there's a song called Sign of the Times. That's like, just like that last song we watched. Sign of the Times is a crazy, weird, like spoken word vibe. And then Running on Empty is the first hip hop blues song that I ever wrote. And then from there, we've been like, the words come out really quickly since then. But Running on Empty, that is worth watching. It's a crazy tune. But this is comedy this is a satire pop song is what I see this as, Cootie Shot. The crazy thing about Cootie Shot is even though it's a funny song, it's like good. Like I'm like dancing to this song. I was playing it for my kids earlier, and my wife's like she's smiling and laughing. And I was like, yeah, shouldn't this be like on all radio stations right now? I know that's such a touchy subject, but this is the reality. If you got your Cootie Shot, you're good. All right? They want to tell you the world's biggest lie. You see, most of the population just goes along for the ride. Just a few people left to stand up and carry on the fight. Why is the screen frozen? So you can say what you want. You can say how you feel. Hold on. Why is it doing that? They want to tell you the world's biggest lie. Well, that's weird. The video's not working, but the audio is. You see, most of the population just goes along for the ride. All right, let me put myself on the screen at least. People left to stand up and carry on the fight. So you can say what you want. Oh, I know why. This is a piece of audio. Say how you feel. Hold on, I'm on that. I got no problem with that. Circle, circle, dot, 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 dot. I got my cootie shot. Don't need what you're selling. Don't need what you're peddling. I'll just take my chances. Let me find this. Circle, circle, dot, dot, say, I got my cootie shot. I think this is the right one right here. Third grade. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. They want to tell you the world's biggest lie. Here's some serious truth right here, Don. Check this out. You see, most of the population just goes along for the ride. Just a few people left to stand up and carry on the fight. So you can say what you want. You can say how you feel. I got no problem with that. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. Don't need what you're selling. Don't need what you're peddling. I'll just take my chances with the light. Circle, circle, dot, dot, say, I got my cootie shot. Third grade, got Rebecca Morrison in the schoolyard. She said, you should better run away, cause I'm gonna give you the cooties. I said, that's okay, can you give me a little circle, circle, dot, so I got the cootie shot. She says, come on over here, dear, I'm gonna give you that cootie shot. Now, I give a circle, I give a circle, I give a dot, dot. Now I got the cootie shot. Holy cow, it's crazy. I got the ultimate protection in the future from the CV9. Who knew it? I knew it when I was in the schoolyard with Rebecca Morrison. She said, I give a circle, circle, dot, dot, the cootie shot. And now you're good for life. You can give me a high five. Circle, circle, dot, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. Got my cootie shot. If you've got your cootie shot and you get a knockaroo on the door. Oh, hi, Mr. P. I see that you haven't had your Vaxaroo. We're here to administer such a situation. Excuse me, sir. I don't see you can read, I guess, because I put a big sign on the door. I've got my friggin' cootie shot. That's right, circle, dot it. I had a Rebecca Morrison situation. She gave me the cootie shot. And you're gonna try to come over here, Vaxxeroo? It conflicts. My cootie shot's good for life. Your Vaxxeroo is good for 4 days. And then you need another shot. I'm not taking a booster every 4 days. I'm just telling you, not gonna happen, okay? So you could do a Vaxxeroo. I'm gonna sit here with my cootie shots, what I'll do. Gonna hang out every night here till June. Look, I'm sitting here in September, wondering if we're gonna have a night to remember. And maybe every night we do, it's what we do. Renaissance man's gotta go for the flow, gotta go for it, man. If you don't, you're leading below the pack. You gotta take it to the top, gotta lead it to the cream of the crop. I'm just saying, I'm coming off the top of the mind, off the rhymes. I don't know what the hell I'm saying, but I'm gonna pass this time with you. We gotta get through this crazy negativity that they're throwing at me and you. I'm just saying, right? And if we do it together, we can find a better world, I swear it. And I won't stop forever. We're gonna keep going, ever and ever and never gonna stop. No, cause I got that cootie shot. I got my cootie shot. Circle, circle, dot, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. Ooh, I got my cootie shot. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. I got my cootie shot. Yeah, I said I got my cootie shot. Oh, whoa, whoa. Said I got my cootie shot. Don't come near me with that needle. No, I'm just going to show you the door. I ain't going to have none of it, no. Cause I'm here with my cootie shot. Yeah, I'm safe from it all. I'm gonna sit from it all. Gonna smile from ear to ear. Cause I got no fear. Yeah, I'm kicking with my cootie shot. Yeah, I'm clear from this crazy stick that you're killing us with this pandemic. I'm not gonna take it no more. I'm sick of it. So I'm cause I'll say what? I got my circle, circle, dot, dot. So you can take it cause I got that cootie shot. People asked just how effective is the cootie shot. Some people postulate it's 93%. No, I'm sorry, my friends. It's 100% cootie shot. I love my cootie shot. You're feeling you can't do a thing to me, no. With your Vaxxeroo. Cause if you try, I'm going to step on you. I think you're 3 feet tall. I swear you were starting Lord of the Rings. You're the Gollum who sits there with the ring and says,
My precious.
I know it's you, typecast a Foucheroo. Yeah, they got you sitting there with the moonlight on your stupid face as you look up and say,
It's my ring. And wear 67 masks.
Foucheroo, the stratosphere. Unless you got the antidote, it's clear. Billy Boy Gates, he's leading this new world order. And we're going to have to put a stop to it. You and your Moderna, I don't need that thing, yo. I don't need it at all. Cause you know I got the greatest safety net of all. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I got my cootie shot. Keep me safe all night, all day, every day. You can do what you want to, but I'm gonna say get your cootie shot. If you can go down to a third grade hall and ask if you could get your own cootie shot, I swear you'll feel much better afterwards. No, I'm gonna go to a doctor and ask a thing or two. No, you don't have to do that thing, I swear. All you gotta do is go find a little 5-year-old named Rebecca Morrison. Maybe her daughter, maybe she'll be out there too, and say, look, I do a cootie shot every day, my friend. Don't be a fool. Come over here. Let me give you that protection that you need so you can be cool if the TV-19 come at you. And you can say, look, I've been protected for a long time. I got myself the cootie shot on the side. Look, I'm kicking it. It's right here. Ticky-ticky-doo. Tick-tick with the circle, circle. You got the dot, dot. You got the cootie mother shot. You know what I'm saying? I got my cootie shot. Got my cootie shot, yeah, yeah. I got my cootie shot. I got my cootie shot. I got my cootie shot. Throw that pick. So sometimes you'll see me at the end just kind of look off because I'm reflecting on what just happened, you know, created some craziness. Like there's a song here I couldn't find for this album. Listen to this. Whatever I do should be okay with you. Whatever I do should be okay with you. Listen to that. This reminds me of like Steven Seagal going through the streets going to kick people in the face. There's a movie Steven Seagal did back in the day, and he's like a cop, and then there's this like Irish cop that he hits in the face with a friggin' like a cue ball or something. He like wraps the cue ball and he smacks this guy in the face. And in that movie, he's going through the streets with like a steel drum and I'm like, yep. Whatever I do should be okay with you. So that'll be on next album because I didn't get it for this album, but this is also going on the next album. Today is a new day. Ooh, a new day, a new dawn. Oh, today is a new day. Island boy. Oh, goodness. You know how frustrating it is to see people with zero talent be successful as can be? Like those two kids, I'm like, baffles me. Yeah, I'm an island boy, wanna make it right, wanna feel it good, I'm an island boy. I'm like, really? Really? I rip off my shirt and put tattoos on my freaking forehead? And stupid, like, penises coming off the top? Is that what we're doing? No, Joanne, it's what they're doing. It's success. If you want success, you tattoo in your middle of your forehead. Yeah. That's what they're doing. You can't clean cut it in 2022. No, I'm sorry. If you want to do it, you better get some freaking skanky dude with like a he's got like the needle that hasn't been cleaned in 3 years. You know, there's like Hep C on it. You got to get a Hep C. If you want to be successful, you do an Island Boys, Hep C in it. Island by Hep C on my neck. He's got on his neck, Hep C. They actually tattooed Hep C on his neck because they're like, look, you got it. You got it from the needle. So why don't we just put it on your neck right there? And when you're doing, I'm just an island Hep C boy. And you're like, oh yeah, he did it with his gold teeth, diamond style. What's that, Joanne? No, Joanne, I'm not playing that way. I'm going clean cut, even if I'm here forever and doing it to just Jeffrey. I'm playing for Jeffrey and for Andrew and Phoenix and for Ron Tyler. We're doing it. We don't need to do an Island Boy tattoo, with the stupid weird, what is it even on his head? What does he got over there? Oh, that's my cousin's baby cousin sister. Like, what are we talking? You got a baby cousin sister in the middle of your forehead? She doesn't even like you. Is that why you did it? Because she's like, you're trying to get in good favor? Hey, look, I put a tattoo right here in the middle of your head. And her name, what was that? Exadria? What is Exadria? Like she couldn't, she couldn't go with a normal name like Adriana or whatever, Exadria? Yeah, that's my cousin. This is the name Exadria. You got Exadria on your forehead. Okay. I'm an island boy. Yeah. Yeah, you are. 2022. I told you, Twilight Zone in it. Right? We're doing it. Twilight Zone, right? Sometimes you're wondering, you're like, yeah, no, this seems like it makes sense. By Menon. Joanne, by Menon. I did a by Menon situation. It's over. We're through it. End of the show. Sometimes when you do a 3-hour, 52-minute show and you have your brother, Ron Tyler, on, you're doing it. You know what I mean? Guys, don't forget, tomorrow we do this all over, every single day. And I'm not sure what time we'll be on. I'm assuming we'll be around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Real estate net all day tomorrow. So if you do have any real estate needs, remember you can send me an email, mp@markpires.com. And this new album you were listening to tonight comes out this week. I'm so excited. But catch up. There are 156 songs currently on my Spotify and on my website. You can actually pick up a physical copy. If you're like, hey, I actually like signed CDs. I still listen to CDs. I have an amazing printer here now. I'm printing out CDs for the family. And you can get on a monthly program. Every time the new album comes out, I ship it out to you as soon as they're printed. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys. Let me just go over here and say goodnight to whoever's here. So if you are lurking, say goodnight now or forever hold your peace. Andrew Golden, my brother, thank you so much for your donations tonight. I so appreciate you. I love seeing you pop in. Donation or not, I love every time I see Andrew Golden's name pop up in the chat. You're awesome, brother. I love you. Sydney, I love you, brother. Denise Budnick, you are probably the longest running Renaissance Man family member. Love you, Denise. You're amazing. Don Patoka, you're amazing, my friend. I love you. I always see you at Ron's. I hope I see you more often over here. I'll be writing songs and try to make you laugh every night. So hope to see you more often. Ron Tyler, you're my brother. We're doing it again. We're doing it again. No, Joanne, you can't be on. You got a humongocarditis. She wants airtime now. Like, you guys want to hear her George Soros voice? Yes, I grew up in a small... Nobody wants to hear it. You grew up. That was enough. We're done. Jeffrey, my brother, I'm so excited you found the show, my friend. I love you. I hope to see you tomorrow. Mama Roo, right? Get Mama Roo in the chat. We're doing it. I hope to see you tomorrow, Mama Roo, because we're going to be doing it again. And I hope to write a song for all of you tomorrow. Let me see who else is with us. Phoenix, you rock, right? You're much better than Phoenix, Arizona, right? I'm just saying, it's like arid, Yeah, Joanne, it's arid in Phoenix. They get up to like 115, but it feels like 72 because it's arid. Arid Dry by Menon. It was also another product that Menon put out in the late 80s. And let me see who else. Stacy Michaels, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And Toss Salad kicking it with us. You see, Toss Salad has the benefit of being the last name on the list. And when you're a Toss Salad, you got that whole thing going on, Guys, tomorrow, the news, comedy, live songwriting. And you have 4 feature films to catch up on, 4 comedy feature films, and a ton of music. and too many comedies. Just go through the playlist. I love you guys. Remember, tomorrow, do it all over again. Until then, it's Mark Byers. And it's Renaissance Man.
You got to go away.
I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
You got to go away.
You got to go away until tomorrow when we do it all again.
You got to go
See you